Hey guys, I'm hoping I'm live. If you guys can see me, let me know, or if you can hear me. I think you can hear me. So today I'm gonna talk about horror, which is my Oh shit. Um, I guess I am live because I have the YouTube channel open and now I'm hearing myself talking. So let me mute that. All right, so I'm gonna talk about horror. My favorite genre. It always has been since I was a kid. It all started when I guess I was maybe like 4 or 5 years old, and I was watching. My dad's a big horror fan, so and my parents never uh like censored me from movies, so I would just watch anything my dad was watching. So any horror movie that was on, my dad would watch it, and I would watch it with him. I always loved it, and my mom would be like, "Oh, he's gonna have nightmares," and yeah, maybe I had a nightmare like once or twice, but I got over that real fast. And by the time I was 5, I wasn't having nightmares because of horror movies anymore, and they never really scared me. I know a lot of people judge horror movies by like um oh, that movie wasn't scary or it's not scary enough. That's not my gauge for horror movies because no horror movie scares me. I've been watching them for so long, I'm like desensitized to them, so I don't get scared by horror movies anymore, or never really did, even when I was 5 or 6 years old. In fact, the movie that scared me when I was a little kid was E.T. I don't know why. I went to the theater to see E.T. with my folks, and the second ET popped out, I fucking screamed my ass off and ran out the theater because he was scary as fuck to me. But I watched fucking movies like Evil Dead and Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street and shit. But what's up, guys? Everybody in the chat, how you doing? If you guys have any questions or want me to talk about something, let me know. But yeah, so I was watching horror movies since I was a kid. Yeah, I always had a morbid fascination too. Like one of my favorite shows of all time was Twilight Zone. I watched the hell out of that. And that had some horror elements to it, but it was more sci-fi and stuff. But if we go far back enough, we can get to like the Universal and RKO films. The Universal monsters, like the old 30s films, the black and white ones like Dracula, The Mummy, and what other ones? There Frankenstein, the Wolfman and stuff. Wolfman was RKO, but I love those films. Those that was pretty much like the first big explosion in Hollywood for like horror films. And yeah, that brought the horror genre into the mainstream, but that disappeared after a bit, and there wasn't really many good horror movies after a while until like maybe we got the whole UFO craze. We're getting all these great UFO films. One of those Invasion of the Body Snatchers, that's a fucking classic. Great fucking film, great story. And then there was the remake in the 70s with Donald Sutherland. Oh, that movie's amazing. The ending on that is freakish and perfect, and that's a great movie. If you've never seen the 70s Invasion of the Body Snatchers, please do. That's a fantastic movie. But oh wait, hold on, let's get the chat. One movie that scared me is Puppet Master. Yeah, Puppet Master is cool. I think some of those got better along the way, but we'll get to that because that's another part of this when you eventually get to like the New Moon films. But yeah, so growing up, I think the first horror movie I ever saw, which was horror in the past, but you probably wouldn't consider it horror anymore, was Psycho. Psycho is a fantastic film. Another great one. Anthony Perkins is great as Norman Bates, and it's Alfred Hitchcock. How much better can you get with that? But yeah, that was probably one of my first introductions to horror. I guess now like I said, you wouldn't call it horror anymore. It'd probably be called like a thriller or something. But yeah, which is it's funny because when it comes to horror, my favorite about horror is more on the supernatural side, I guess, more than like slashers. I'm not a big fan of slashers. It takes a lot, or a slasher has to be really special for me to like. It has to be really made in a special way. But growing up, yeah, I did like the Friday the 13th series. I did like Nightmare on Elm Street. I don't know if you can call those slashers. That had a little bit of a supernatural element to it, which I liked more than the other ones because it had the whole supernatural thing of him haunting you in your dreams and nightmares and stuff. But yeah, the first Wes Craven fucking Nightmare on Elm Street was amazing, right? They can't really argue with that. Halloween was great. My favorite one of all time is Night of the Living Dead. That's basically my favorite horror movie of all time. And it's not even because of the zombies. I actually prefer when zombie movies are not focused on the zombies and more focused on the human aspect of it, like how humans react to this situation, because it's really a survival movie, right? Like zombies should be like survival films, I guess, more than horror films, because they're the zombies basically bring about an obstacle, and then how the humans survive this obstacle is what's really interesting about Night of the Living Dead, right? Because Night of the Living Dead is about these people who get trapped in this house during the like zombie apocalypse or whatever you want to call it. They didn't call it that at that time. And the really interesting thing about that is, like, they have the guy, Mr. Cooper, in the basement, and the black dude, I can't remember. Oh, Ben. And their conflict of which was the best way of survival. Mr. Cooper wanted to stay in the basement with his family to protect his family, where Ben was like, nah, it's a death trap. We gotta, hold out up here, and in case you get overcrowded, we can leave. Let's see. The Ring screwed with my head. Yeah, that was another era that came about with the Japanese horror movies, and that brought about a whole new change to the genre, which is good. And I really much like it on the Japanese aspect when the US started doing that, and not just making remakes, because some of the remakes were decent, but then they started making too many, and they started sucking, and the sequel started sucking. And but yeah, and then we started emulating that style, and it just doesn't work. Like, we can't get it to work. Japanese people tend to get it to work. I guess that's what their horror is, so they can do it the best. It's not really our horror. We can't really do it as well. What else? What else? Games are replacing movies. Yeah, I don't know. Horror games aren't all that great. Some of them are good. When we started in the old days, when it first started getting popularity, like the first Resident Evils were really good, and that even started going downhill. They started focusing more on action as opposed to the horror and survival aspect of it. There was other good ones though, like Parasite Eve and Silent Hill. But yeah, the horror genre in video games, I guess I like it as a genre, but it doesn't work the same to me as it does with movies. See people mentioning Carrie. We want to talk about I love to read. One of my favorite things when I was a kid, also while I was watching these horror movies, was also reading. And I was reading at a very young age, and I was very much loved reading and always wanted to get better at it, even when I was little. So one of my first books that I started on, I remember my mom, I loved Stephen King horror movies, right? I loved Carrie. Firestarter isn't really a horror movie, but I love that movie too, man. Firestarter is so good, and the book is great. The Shining, Salem's Lot. There was a bunch of really good ones, and I was a big fan of Stephen King from the movie. So I remember one time when I had to have been like 6 or 7. My mother went to a flea market and found Night Shift for 50 cents. If you've never read Night Shift, best fucking Stephen King book you could pick up. I read it all the time, like maybe once a year or something. I love it so much. But it's a short story collection, and a lot of the movies that ended up being made come from this short story collection. A good amount of them. It's like 8 or 9 of them in there. Children of the Corn is one of them. That was a cool movie too. When I was a kid, I loved Children of the Corn. But yeah, and then after Stephen King, I really got into H.P. Lovecraft, and because Stephen King was inspired by H.P. Lovecraft, and a lot of the stories in that first short story compilation were inspired by H.P. Lovecraft. So I got into Lovecraft next. Lovecraft, my favorite horror writer of all time, and I think he's the best. I don't think he'll ever be topped. He's the best horror writer ever, and it's because he hits that aspect of horror that I really like, the supernatural aspect. But it's not just supernatural in the case of like ghosts and like haunted houses. It's supernatural in a cosmic sense, where there's beings way beyond us, and I'm not just talking like regular gray aliens and shit. I'm talking about like extremely powerful ancient beings that either lived on Earth before humans came about, or from some other place in the universe, And yeah, basically they never end well. It's basically, Earth is doomed and humans are doomed because the ancient ones are coming back and gonna fuck everything up, or people being driven insane by the knowledge of these ancient beings and how powerful they are. Friday the 13th movies were good. It got bad after 4. I agree. The first 3 are really good. My favorite Jason is actually the potato sack fucking Jason with the one hole there. I love that fucking mask. I like that better than the hockey mask, and that was what ended up becoming iconic. But yeah, the first 3 were good because they kind of continued after each other. After that, they all started just kind of being their own standalone movies, and I don't know, I kind of lost. And he became more supernatural as well, which, like I said, I like the supernatural aspect, but with that, it's not really that supernatural. It's just that he, you kill him and he comes back, basically. And, or you're running away from him and he ends up in front of you somehow, like, whoa, shit, I guess he can teleport, right? The Exorcist, amazing fucking film. Yeah, that's a classic. I mean, I grew up watching that movie, and it was frightening as hell. Billy Bong said something, which he might be joining me later, but Billy Bong said something about that once he became an atheist, it wasn't scary. But as I said, I don't really get scared by movies, and I like that movie regardless if I was an atheist or not. I liked it the same before or after. Uh, Pet Cemetery, another good Stephen King one, but that's more that leaned more towards the slasher aspect of films where, yeah, you know, the kid came back to life and he was basically a slasher villain after that. He was just walking around with a little knife cutting people up. But it was a cool story. It had that supernatural aspect as well. Pan's Labyrinth. That was a good movie, but I wouldn't rate it too much in the horror aspect since it was it was more of like a fantastical film, like fantasy and stuff. The Crow, Q-like beings. No. When I'm talking about Cosmic Horror, they're not like Q. No, they're monsters, and they're like monsters, not in any type of way that you would think of. Usually, when you think of monsters, you think of these huge human-shaped creatures with like, you know, weird monstrous faces. But these things are like tubed creatures with tentacles and eyes everywhere and shit. Like really at the edge of like creation. And for somebody who was writing at the beginning of the 20th century. I think he started writing maybe at the end of the 19th century. It was really revolutionary shit. And he was not famous at his time. He died, and it was like maybe 20 to 30 years after his death that he really became popular, and now is even more popular than he ever was, like about 100 years after he was writing. And yeah, has been an influence on pretty much every horror writer you can think of now. The Shining, fucking amazing film. Stanley Kubrick is one of my favorite directors of all time. He doesn't even do horror except for The Shining, but you know, all his movies are fantastic. Yeah. My roommate was closing the door so he doesn't disturb me. Goldberg, blah blah blah. Santa Slay. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna go back to talking about like horror, the genre in general, is at least with movies. There's a thing like when after horror got big in the 30s, and then became kind of schlocky with the 50s and the whole UFO craze. Like those movies they're good and they're fun, but they were kind of, you know, they were schlocky, they're kind of goofy, and you know, you're like, oh, weird. But after that, horror kind of died down again, and you got a lot of like religious horror, you know, Rosemary's Baby, and like maybe stuff with like satanic cults and stuff. But those are here and there, and they were never really too good until you got to Exorcist. That kind of brought horror back into the limelight again, and horror became a thing where this is why I think horror was good back in the day, when, you know, talking about 70s and 80s and 90s, as opposed to now, because horror was not that popular yet, and then it blew up, but then it became a thing of like, you didn't need a huge budget to make horror movies, and to make it good, because it was more about the atmosphere and the story than it was about the special effects and stuff. And some of them didn't even necessitate a lot of special effects, so you could really do a lot of work and make it count on a small budget when it came to horror. So it ended up becoming a very good entry point for directors to get into Hollywood. You know, you could be a new director who's never done anything, make a low budget horror movie. It can blow up and bring about, you know, and bring you into Hollywood. And some of those directors stuck to horror. Some of them branched out and did other things. You know, you got Sam Raimi came in with the super low budget fucking Evil Dead, and eventually was, you know, directing Spider-Man and stuff like that. But eventually, what I think happened, because horror has really taken a nosedive now. It's still as popular as it was, but it's taking a serious nosedive. And I think that's because it's no longer something like that. It's no longer a thing where directors can use it as a jump off point to start their career. And I think it's gotten so popular, and it's popular with children, not children, but like teenagers, that's the market they go for. And this is what seems to happen with horror now, is once one horror movie comes out that's big, the Hollywood seems to want to emulate that. And then they just try to copy that movie over and over again. And that really sucks. Like you lose all passion in the story, and you get all these really lame horror movies. They're just so repetitive. Like recently I went to see a movie called Unfriended or friend request, and it was like a Facebook horror, but it was very much like a ripoff of the Japanese movie fad that's already passed. Like it already passed like 20 years ago after The Ring, and that whole that whole genre of horror already passed, and now there's then these people are coming back trying to do it again. It was such a bad movie. I don't know. But the other oh the they tried to bring back The Ring recently. Same thing again. It was just an American film trying to emulate that Japanese fad, and it was just lame. And that keeps happening. Too many sequels, too many remakes, too many passionless projects coming out where the Hollywood producer just like, here, we're gonna throw this amount of money at you. People, teenagers go see horror movies anyway, so it doesn't matter how you make it. Just yeah, here's some money. We want this, and that. All these jump scares. Jump scares ruin horror movies if you didn't know. If you don't do them right, and you do jump scares throughout the whole fucking movie, especially false jump scares. Those are the worst. Like that's like the part of the movie where somebody's like in the dark with a flashlight looking around and then a hand touches them. They're like, and it's their friend and shit, no, it's just me. That the more you do that in a movie, the less impact that the movie's going to have. Because every time you do that, it's people are expecting it now. So when you're reaching that big jump scare at the end, nobody's going to jump anymore because you're just expecting it now. You've just desensitized them to that. So what else is people saying? Rob Zombie movies suck. Well, Billy says that's a controversial take for him. Yeah, I completely disagree, and I've loved every Rob Zombie movie so far. What was the first one? A House of a Thousand Corpses was amazing. It was more like it was kind of like an homage to 70s horror. Him in general, I think all his movies are kind of homages to 70s horror. I think he's a big fan of that, and so am I. But yeah, that was great. The sequel was great. Devil's Rejects. Yeah, that was really good too. And that was more of a 70s style film, like Last House on the Left from Wes Craven. It was kind of like that kind of film where you're just seeing depravity from like serial killers. But I didn't like that as much as House of a Thousand Corpses. I thought that House of a Thousand Corpses was more artistic, which is what I enjoyed about it, like the weird filters. And there was that scene in House of a Thousand Corpses where the bad guy, or I forget what his name is, the one bad guy had the sheriff dude like with the gun, and he was holding him, and it just like zoomed back real slow, and it took forever. I remember sitting at the theater like waiting for him to shoot him, like whoa. And it's just such a well directed and well timed scene. It was great. Yeah, that's see, David, I liked House of a Thousand Corpses when I first saw it. It was called Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and that was my favorite thing about that film. It was a fantastic homage to Texas Chainsaw Massacre and 70s horror films in general. What did he do after that? His Halloweens, I like them a lot. I think those are really, and I like the second one even better. The second one was super artistic and such a well-made film. What else did he? And after that was my favorite one. My favorite one. Lords of Salem. That movie's fantastic. That film was very H.P. Lovecraft and very 70s cult, like satanic cult film. That's fucking awesome. And then he did 31, which I reviewed that. If you ever go to my old films, I think that might have been the very first video I did on YouTube, was my review of 31, which I enjoyed a lot too. But that one was more straight up like to watch just for the horror aspect. There wasn't much to the story, but I still enjoyed that as well. Rosemary's Baby is a great film. Love that. And one of the good things about Rosemary's Baby is exactly what I don't like about horror now, and what I liked about it in the 70s and 80s was you didn't need a big budget. You didn't need to show much to have that horror aspect to it. What a lot of the horror of Rosemary's Baby is what you don't see and what they don't reveal to you. You never see the baby, right? There's that scene at the end, and she finally sees her baby after they've kept it away from her, and they're all sitting there in the room, and she goes to see the baby, and all you see is the angle from behind the carriage and her looking at the baby, and the horror is like the expression on her face, and she's like, oh my god, what's wrong with its eyes? And she starts freaking out. It's like they're like, oh, he's got his father's eyes, because it's Satan's child. And yeah, that's fucking great film, man. Rosemary, who's that? Roman Polanski, the fucking child toucher. But fuck it, man, he made a fucking good ass movie. You only saw Satan's eyes. Yeah, yeah. See, James knows what I'm talking about. Seven. I wouldn't call Seven a horror movie. That's more like a detective thriller, but great movie nonetheless. Fantastic. The guy who makes that movie, oh fuck, Fincher, David Fincher, yeah, he's fucking amazing. All his movies are great, but again, not horror. I see Sarah Hatcher said The Hills Have Eyes. I was never a big fan of that movie. Didn't really watch the remake because it looked exactly like the original, and yeah, I wasn't really a huge fan of that. It's funny, Wes Craven's known as one of the big like horror guys that's really good, but Wes Craven wasn't. No, I just wasn't a big fan of his movies before Night of the Living Dead. Night of the Living Dead was definitely Night of the Living Dead. Nightmare on Elm Street was definitely a huge thing to me. I loved Freddy Krueger and I love that character. Omen was fun. Yeah, that whole series was fun. They weren't all great, but they all had their fun aspects to them. There's that scene. I remember when I first saw this as a kid, I had it on VHS and I had to rewind it over and over again and watch it again. Was the I don't think it was in the first one. Maybe I'm wrong. It might have been in the second one, but maybe it is in the first one. I remember, but it was like they're somewhere in Europe and one of the guys is on the street running around and there's like a people like about to put a plate of glass up or something and a truck hits another thing and the plate of glass comes down and it chops his fucking head right off. And that scene, like the way the special effects was done on that was fucking funny. And I had to like rewatch that over and over again. The Howling, I never got into that either. Although The Howling did have great werewolf transformation scenes, really good ones and very original, like where the snout of the werewolf would come out of its mouth. Ooh. But if you want to talk about werewolf movies, American Werewolf in London is a fantastic film. John Landis blew me away when that movie came out. It was so good. With the transformation scene was amazing. That was probably the best ever. But it also had it wasn't just like a werewolf film. It also had aspects where he would see his dead friend and they would see, you know, remember he would have those nightmares of the Nazi dream. Yeah, exactly. Just like James just said in the chat, the Nazi dream. That was an amazing scene. I love that scene. And just him talking to his friend in the theater and the dead hobo fucking whose name was Alfie, you know, that was great too. I was about to say American Werewolf. Yeah, that's a great movie. John Carpenter, another one of my favorites. The Thing is probably not only one of my favorite horror movies of all time, but one of the greatest remakes of all time. But yeah, that movie blew me away, and also very Lovecraftian as well. John Carpenter in general has done a lot of good movies. His whole they call it the Apocalypse trilogy, and that whole trilogy is great. And it's The Thing, and then it was Prince of Darkness, which is one of those films I really didn't like at first because I really didn't understand it. It's a very strange film. But as I got older and watched it again a couple times, I started liking it more and gained an appreciation for it. But then one of my favorite John Carpenter movies, which is super Lovecraftian and is an homage to H.P. Lovecraft and Stephen King, so I guess it makes it it's like perfect for me, was At the Mouth of Madness. I don't know if you guys seen that, but that with Sam Neill from Jurassic Park, fucking amazing movie. One of my favorites for sure. Oh, yeah, somebody said Into the Mouth of Madness. Yeah, In the Mouth of Madness was called it. But the 80s was 100% better storyline wise than the original 50s. Yeah, 50s. The Thing, what was it called? The Thing from Outer Space or something like that wasn't all that great. But like I said, 50s were very schlocky. So for the time, it was a good movie. But yeah, John Carpenter definitely took that story and made it a million times better. What else do we have? Oh, Creepshow. You guys remember Creepshow? I also love anthology films, and I'm a big horror short story fan. So I mean, you got George Romero who made Night of the Living Dead and Stephen King together, and you made Creepshow, and fucking great, right? There was that first story, which was super Tales from the Crypt style, with the father who wanted his Father's Day cake, but he got murdered, and then he came back and he was like, "I got my cake," with his fucking daughter's head on the plate, fucking with candles on it. Fucking amazing. The one with Leslie Nielsen and Ted Danson, where he buries him up to his neck and the water's coming. Another fucking great story. The one with Stephen King, he plays the character, and then the meteorite lands and he touches his mouth and with the meteor stuff, and little by little grass starts growing everywhere and he gets covered with it. Tales from the Dark Side was an awesome horror TV show, which was kind of a sequel to Creepshow. What happened was they made the second Creepshow, which again was awesome. And then they wanted to translate it into a TV show and make a Creepshow TV show, but it didn't work out with the licensing and stuff like that from the Creepshow story. So they had to separate from that, and they just made it Tales from the Dark Side. But technically, that is basically like what Creepshow TV show. And Stephen King even did some of the stories on that too. Yeah, talking of anthologies and Stephen King and my love for Stephen King, we can go back and say Cat's Eye was great. Two of those stories also are on his anthology books, and those were great translations of those. Never forget that in school. Her husband was fucking creepy. Critters. Hey, Critters is fun, but Lawnmower Man was shitty fucking movie. It's nothing like the Stephen King story, and in fact, he sued them for calling it Lawnmower Man because when they originally released it, it was called Stephen King's Lawnmower Man. But that's not what his story was like at all. They completely changed the story. So after seeing the movie, he was like, no, you can't call it Stephen King's Lawnmower Man. It's not even my story. Like, you just totally just put my name on it just to put it there. Yeah, Tales from the Dark Side did have the best opening ever, and is one of the best anthology shows that we ever got besides Twilight Zone. What else was there? But yeah, the John Carpenter is one of my favorites. He's really good. Sam Raimi. Oh yeah, I was talking about Evil Dead earlier in the chat with Billy, and he was saying Evil Dead 1 is better than Evil Dead 2, which I totally disagree. But what I really like about Evil Dead 2 that I don't like about Evil Dead 1, well, I can't say I don't like, but Evil Dead 1 was good, but it was just straight horror. There wasn't really anything special to it to me. It had a good idea, but it wasn't anything special. And I think 2 exponentially made the idea and took it way further and expanded on it a lot. And it's also great to see. One of my favorite things about that film is seeing Ash's slow descent into madness, to the point where he gets to that point where he's just like laughing his ass off at everything that just occurred, like all the craziness that just happened. And he's just standing there fucking bawling of laughter. And then everything else in the house starts laughing with him, and the lampshade's like, ah, ha, ha, ha. The fucking moose head starts looking at him, and he's like, ah, ha, 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 and they're all just laughing. He's like, ah, ha, ha, ha. And then he goes into total fucking badass mode after that, and fucking destroys the shit out of every fucking thing that gets turned into a demon. Fucking great. In the 70s, well, before I get into that, the next thing I'll see what he said. Have you ever seen Carnival of Souls? Of course. That's like, Carnival of Souls is great because it's really like a Twilight Zone episode, but it's an extended Twilight Zone episode. But it could have been shortened and been a good Twilight Zone episode. And in fact, there is a Twilight Zone episode that's very similar to that, where this girl's driving and sees a hitchhiker everywhere, but it ends up that she killed that hitchhiker when she was driving and ran him over. Sleepwalkers, I liked. A lot of people didn't like that film, but I liked it. It was very different and very original. They were like cat people and shit. That was cool. Yeah, The Gate was amazing. That was a great one when I was a kid. I was gonna go into in the 70s, another thing that came out that was really good was the Italians got into the scene and started really, they were, before that, they were big on making Westerns, and that, we had that era of spaghetti Westerns. But after that, we got Mario Bava, Lucio Fulci, Dario Argento. They all started coming in and started making these great Italian horror movies, which really focused a lot on gore, which is like what I think most people initially were attracted to in that, but there was also something deeper to that. They really went deep into the stories and atmosphere. And Dario Argento got in the scene by co-creating Dawn of the Dead with George Romero. So it was released in Italy as well as spaghetti horror. Yeah, Paul, I guess we could call it spaghetti horror, which is a cool name for it. I like that. But in Italy, Dawn of the Dead was released as Zombie, and it was co-created by both of them, by both George Romero. So George Romero released it in the US as Dawn of the Dead, and the exact movie, but edited by Dario Argento, was released as Zombie in Italy. And that's how it really jumped into the scene. Sometime after that, he made Suspiria, which is a lot of people's jumping point into getting into Italian horror. Fantastic film, mostly because of the way the film was filmed, the cinematography and the atmosphere. There's some really beautiful colors in that, and go into like be seen like where she's walking into a hallway, and it's kind of like, it has that little tilt to it and weird lights in the background, and it just works out so well. But there's no way you can escape this from any Italian horror movie. There's always going to be some cheesy ass nonsensical scenes, like the girl, like if anybody's seen Suspiria here, the girl that walks into a room to run away from the killer and falls into a pit of barbed wire. Why the fuck is there a pit of barbed wire at a dance school? Like, what? But it's great. And she's like struggling with it, like, like, why? What? Why? What the fuck is a pit of barbed wire doing there? Makes no fucking sense. But it's great. Like, you watch that scene and you can't help but love it, even though it's fucking retarded. But the ending of that movie is probably one of the most amazing fucking horror endings, where she walks into the witch's room or whatever she is, because they don't fully explain it, but Helena Marcus, and she wakes up from her bed, and when the main character girl walks up to her, another one, her friend who was also in the school, walks in, and she just looks totally with a knife, and she makes this crazy fucking face and sound that she's like, and her face is all cut up, and she has fucking pins in her eyes, like each, like, one pin each, like right into the center of her eyes, and it's so freaky, man. Great fucking great idea and stuff. Another one of my favorite Italian films, if you guys haven't seen it, and I highly recommend if you want to try to jump into Italian horror, is The Beyond. That's my favorite one of all time. Great fucking film, and very how can I say, like in a supernatural aspect, but very just like the name, very beyond. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like the story is kind of like that. There's these people buy a hotel, and it just happens that the hotel was built over like a gate to hell, and there's these gates to hell all over the world, but this really just focuses on one, and I think it's in New York City, and somehow somebody does something that ends up opening the gate to hell, so these like zombies and people start getting possessed and stuff starts going on. But the ending to that is amazing, and if you haven't seen it, I might spoil it here, but it's maybe I won't fully spoil it, but it's a dire ending. It's one of those endings that's not favorable, like it doesn't end good, it's not a happy ending. Yeah, and I kind of like that when they do that in horror, where things end where it seems hopeless, and it's like, yeah, we humans are nothing compared to this horror that's way beyond our understanding and stuff. But yeah, Italian horror is really cool. Some of them are extremely cheesy, and you probably won't be into it, but there's some that are really lends itself to outside audiences, for people outside Italy. The Japanese horror we touched on a little bit, but I was really into Japanese horror when it first started coming out. Japanese traditionally have not been huge in the horror scene. They have their traditional horrors, which they released like, maybe in the 50s and 60s. But if you look up Japanese horror, they don't release many, and didn't release many for many years. Like you can go through like the list of movies they release through decades and find like huge gaps of like 6-7 years of no horror movies. Not like here, where you're gonna have a bunch a year. But when they do make them, man, they make some good ones. Audition, yeah, James brought up Audition. Amazing film, very slow burn. I've tried to show that movie to people and they lose interest in it like an hour in, but it's one of those films that you just have to hold on, man. I promise, if you watch that movie and you make it through, you will not regret it. When you get to like the last half hour, you will not regret it. From there on, your mouth will drop. Suicide Club, another really good one with a very deep meaning, and also, hey, what's up, Marino? And also not just deep meaning, but also very surreal kind of in its storytelling, and hard to understand. But you get it if you got to watch it a couple times. I recommend that to Laika. I don't know if she saw it yet, but she's big into Japanese horror. What else? Pulse. The American one sucked, but the Japanese one was really good. Another one that's like kind of deep and shit. The Ring series, the Japanese ones are good. Again, like they're not good here. Even the Grudge ones, what we call the Grudge here, were not as good as the Japanese versions. But yeah, there's a lot of good Japanese horror movies. If you look deep into them, some of them didn't get remade here, and some of them never really made it here and got popular enough for people to know about it, but there's really good. South Koreans started getting into it, and they did some really good ones too. What's the one with Joshua Jackson? It's a Japanese horror film with Joshua Jackson. No idea what you're talking about. Or do you mean it was a remake of that? The Ruins was cool. I like the idea of The Ruins, and I thought it was made pretty well. I have the DVD, and it has all these different endings. Some of the alternate endings were better than the one that we eventually got in the theater. What's up, Jay? How you doing? Silent Night, Deadly Night was good, but I'm not a huge fan of it. Another slasher type film that never really captured me fully. Jack Frost. See, now we're getting into the really bad, good horror movies. There were some good ones that were bad, like Maniac Cop. That was the one that was really good. The second one was even better, but those are like good for being bad. I was talking more about films that are just really good horror films, like like The Thing. How long have I been ranting here and talking about this shit for? But yeah, I went into the whole thing about why I think it sucks in the industry. And yeah, now it's like become so popular that they don't really care if it's a good film or not. They know teenagers are gonna go see it. It's like a tradition in America for teenagers to go to the theater and watch out. You take your date. I did that when I was a teenager, right? I used to find girls who want to go see a horror movie with me and go check it out. So people will go anyway. It doesn't matter how shitty it is. There are some currently that are doing good jobs, like the new It movie. I enjoyed that a lot. I thought it, and not just from the aspect of it being an It movie, but just cinematography in general and the way the film was made really well. They did some really good like special effects, and like it is from another dimension. So when he comes into our dimension, there should be a sort of effect that they didn't do in the old series, and they did that with this movie, and I enjoyed it a lot. And they kind of did this weird camera effect thing with him, which was really weird, but I enjoyed that. I thought it was really good, and I thought they did a good job with that. Now I fear that like, since It did so well, that they're gonna do what they always do, and now there's gonna be 100 fucking It movies out there. Not, I mean sequels. I mean like everybody's gonna be emulating what It did, and it's gonna be just like that and kill it. Like how Saw came out and got so popular, and then there were so many of these fucking trap torture fucking movies that came out. Ugh. Best go do it, mate. Get some sleep. I was gonna sleep for a bit. Yeah, James, if you want to sleep, go sleep, man. But if you enjoy me talking about horror, It too. This time there are two It's. Well, there should be an It too, because that was only half the story. They only did the story of the kids. Hold on, let me fix my hair. They only did the story of the kids, and they didn't go into like the story of them as adults. So I'm pretty sure there's, well, not pretty sure. There's definitely going to be a sequel where they do the part with the kids. What other movies you guys want to hear me talk about? But yeah, H.P. Lovecraft. If you guys have never read any H.P. Lovecraft, I totally suggest you read it. It can be a hard read because it's early 20th century. So, and on top of that, he was really obsessed with like Victorian era England. So he talks in a really old style English and writes in the British type English, where he'll spell color with a U and stuff like that. What stuff on Netflix did you have you watched? Fright Night was fucking amazing, Paul. What a good movie. Hell yeah. And that's more fun, like especially like young fun, like if you're a kid who loved horror movies, that was the perfect film for you. It was really entertaining. Would be cool to get a big budget Lovecraft movie. Yeah, Guillermo del Toro has been trying really hard for like the last 8 years to do At the Mountains of Madness, which is one of my favorite stories. He's been trying to do that for a long time and keeps failing because studios tend to want him to do things that are different than what it should be. And he wants to keep it more, adapt it more accurately. Like they want him to put a romantic interest. Lovecraft never really wrote romantic interests in his stories, so he doesn't want to put that in there. But let's see. Fright Night was amazing. It had Marcy from Married with Children in it. Before Married with Children is great. But yeah, that's a cool movie. Stranger Things was great. Love that show. That they're doing a great job of capturing like 80s horror kind of stuff within a modern TV series. Gerald's Game, that was a Lifetime movie. Gerald's Game. I don't think that was a Lifetime movie. I thought that was I thought that was a Netflix original. I think the one you're talking about that was a Lifetime movie was Big Driver. That was a Lifetime movie, but also Stephen King. But I haven't seen Gerald's Game yet, and I'm very excited to watch it. But I keep pushing it back. I do need to watch it. They also put on a what's that called? 1922, 1927. I forgot what it's called, but it's got Thomas Jane in it. And that's another Stephen King one they put on Netflix that I gotta watch too. Shutter. I wasn't big on that. I watched the original. I think it was a Thai film. Even the original was just okay. House of Cards. Why are you messing, dude? We're talking about horror, Jay. We're talking about House of Cards. What kind of horror movie is that? Maybe it is a horror movie where Kevin Spacey touches your balls or something when you're not looking and you're like, horrified. But talking about H.P. Lovecraft, there was a time where good H.P. Lovecrafts are coming out where they weren't accurate adaptations, but they were still done very well. And we're talking about the Brian Yuzna, Stuart Gordon era of films where you got The Reanimator, which fucking, if you haven't seen The Reanimator, that is fun ass horror movie and also just balls to the walls fucking crazy ass movie. The Beyond, another great one. Jay's like, I'll ask what the fuck I like. I'll love you off. Don't You Live with the Man from It Follows? It Follows was a great movie. I love that movie. And that's one of those movies with a lot of contention to it where people are either love it or hate it. Now, I haven't really heard many people say they're like, oh, it's all right. But It Follows is great. I loved it. And it's really a big callback to like old horror, which you don't get very much anymore. I don't feel like that was a movie that was made with much studio intervention where they were like, no, you got to put this, you got to put that, because it was just really very 80s callback. If you haven't seen it and you're a big fan of old school horror and Italian horror, even though this is not an Italian horror, but it was an homage to that, it's called We Are Still Here. I saw it on Netflix. It might still be there. And it's got Barbara Crampton, like, who's popular for those old H.P. Lovecraft films that I was talking about, like Reanimator and beyond. Dagon was another good one that that Stuart Gordon made. That was H.P. Lovecraft, and that was based on the Shadow. H.P. Lovecraft has a story called Dagon, but this movie, although it was called Dagon, was based more on the Shadow over Innsmouth, which is a cool story. Split was really good. What's his name? M. Night Shyamalan. I like him a lot. A lot of people lost their like for him, but I liked him the whole way. I even like The Happening. People hate that movie, and I get a lot of shit for loving that movie, but I fucking love that movie. Such a great concept. Yeah, but that was really good. Let the Right One In was a very good movie. The original, I wasn't a big fan of the adaptation. Jacob's Ladder was really good. I don't know if I'd call that horror though, but it did have horror elements to it. Unsubscribe. Why? Because I like The Happening. It's a great aspect, dude. Like fucking nature strikes back. He's good. He's like Goosebumps horror though, right? Goosebumps horror? No. It's hard to kind of pinpoint with horror. Yeah, The Happening was great, dude. It was like people were just killing themselves. I love the concept of that. I remember there was a show when I was a kid called Sightings, and it was like a show. It was kind of like a news show, but they would talk about paranormal stuff. So it was like a paranormal news show. And I remember one time there was one article they reported on about talking about pollen being like the antibodies for Earth. So it was kind of like the antibodies were attacking us, and it was like the pollen were starting to like kill people and stuff. But so I kind of, so The Happening kind of like caught me on that, and I remembered that, and I always thought that was an interesting like scenario where it was like, nature, Earth is fighting back and is gonna fucking kill us with fucking pollen. But this pollen ended up making people commit suicide, which I thought was fucking amazing. There was that scene where they're driving in the car and they fucking with what's his name? John Leguizamo, and he's in the back seat, and it fucking crashes into that fucking tree, and John Leguizamo goes Brr! Right out the fucking windshield, blah, fucking face first into the ground. Fucking awesome. But yeah, I love that. What other stuff? Oh yeah, talking about Split, they're gonna make a third one because they kind of linked it to Unbreakable, so now they're gonna make another one called Glass, and it's gonna be with the guy from Unbreakable and Samuel Jackson from Unbreakable and the guy from Split. You ever see Vanished with Jeff Bridges? Yes, I did, but it was kind of a while ago. I don't remember it too well, but I did remember liking it. So there's always that. He's burying people alive. Yeah, I do remember that. That was really good. And I think that was a remake as well of, I think, maybe a French film. And that was really good. Somebody brought up to me the other day, which I'll talk about now, was Funny Games. I don't know if you guys ever seen that, but the original is a foreign film. Can't remember where it's from. The original is really fucking good. And that guy made another really good movie called Cache, if you can catch that. But the remake of Funny Games that we got here in America was really good. And wasn't exactly like the original, but it did capture a lot of the feel of the original. It was done really well. So if you guys never seen Funny Games, check that out. Try that out. Kind of reminds me of like, it came out in an era where this was happening a lot, and it was like the home invasion films, but this was like the best of the home invasion films. If you guys remember, like Strangers wasn't bad, but it wasn't all that great either. But a lot of people might think that's the best one. Good night, James. Get some sleep. I'll probably watch your stream later with the Jamie Show. If everybody here is still up, maybe in like 4 hours or so, the Jamie Show is going to have James and David from the Fake Podcast. I hope you guys will be around to watch that. Oh yeah, I was gonna look at how long I've been going. Damn, I've been ranting for a while, I feel like, right? But horror is definitely such a good genre, man. But people are really picky about it. And with me, it ends up weird, like I was saying, because of the thing that I like horror for different reasons. And I'm a movie buff in general and like filmmaking in general. So if a film's made really well, I will still, I would like it. And people might not like it because of the story or something. But if the film's done right, I will enjoy it. So I have been streaming for about 50 minutes or so. So I'll talk for a little more, and then if people want to join me, let me know. I'll DM you a link if you want to talk about horror with me. We can do that. What other good horror movies were there? Genres are kind of weird too. Yeah, I wasn't big into slashers, but I did like some. Halloween is a good, obviously Halloween's really good. Would you give me the D one? How about the original Fright Night and the remake with Anton Yelchin? I can't say I hated the remake, but it wasn't that good either. It's just Odd Thomas was kind of cool. I like that movie, and I'm kind of sad he died, and I'm kind of sad that Odd Thomas didn't do that well, because it was a good movie, and I would have liked to have seen them continue that series. That's a series of books by Dean Koontz, and there's like 5 or 6 of those books. So I would have really liked to have seen that series continue and, go deeper into that. If you haven't seen John Dies at the End, it's kind of similar to that, but way cooler, man. And John Dies at the End is a really good movie, man. You should really check that out. Insane. And another one I could say is like a balls to the walls kind of film. Odd Thomas, thumbs up. Yeah, it was a good movie. They did well with that. Funny Games is Austrian. Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, that original Austrian, that filmmaker is really fucking good. If you can catch any of his films, the one he did before Funny Games, Cache, was really good too. And they're really disturbing. They're not high action films, so if you're expecting to be excited the whole time, don't be. They're very slow burns, but they build up very well. Just, does John die at the end? I will not spoil it for you, but it's called John Dies at the End, so take a good guess. What else we got? I feel like I should go look through my horror movies and talk about them, but maybe I can see them from here. 28 Days Later. That was a great movie. 28 Days Later, Danny Boyle came in strong with that one, right? And that blew him up, but he didn't really go back to the horror genre after that. I kind of wish he did, because he did a good job with that film. And that was around the time where they started making zombies fast, and I didn't like that. I don't really like that aspect, but some of the movies did were still pretty good movies, even though I didn't like that aspect. But I don't consider 28 Days Later a zombie movie because it's not dead people coming back to life. It's people being infected with a rage virus, that makes them filled with rage. So it made sense they were fast. So it worked out with that. 28 Weeks Later, the sequel to that, was good too, but it wasn't as good. It definitely was lacking something that the first one had, but it was still good. I don't think Danny Boyle made the second one. That's probably why it was lacking that. Hi, Amy. Hi. Another fun. See, there's also fun horror movies where they take the genre of horror and it's not so much meant to be scary, but it's just meant to be a fun, entertaining film. And then you got in the 80s, you got Night of the Creeps. If you guys have never seen Night of the Creeps, it's great. It's about these little alien black slug things that will crawl into people's ears, and it turns them into like zombie-like characters. And it comes to a small town when they're about to do their prom and shit. So it's basically like all the guys at the prom get affected. So there's a scene. This is great where the detective goes to where the girls are getting ready for the prom, and he's like telling them all, like, yeah, stay here, don't move, and they're all, I'm gonna protect you girls. And then he looks out the window and you just see all their dates coming, and he's like, girls, your dates are here. But they break into the house, and you'll only see this in campy fucking 80s horror. The chick, one of the chicks is talking to him. She's like freaking out. She's talking to the detective, who's this hard-boiled fucking detective with the mustache, the trench coat, and everything. Straight up like film noir detective. And one of the zombies breaks in the door, and he just fucking grabs her by the top of the head and fucking shoves her to the ground and shoots the zombie. You don't see shit like that anymore in movies, man. That's something great that you saw in those old movies. Day of the Beast. I don't think I've ever seen that, Marina. Oh, you might have got me maybe want to watch another one. Tucker and Dale versus Evil is a very fun movie. And if you haven't seen that movie, it's got this great concept where these two guys go to a cabin, and there's these like kids that show up. They're like these college kids. They're all partying. And the funny thing is that there's kind of no horror villain in this. They just kind of keep dying like by accident, but it kind of seems like these two people are doing it, Tucker and Dale, and they keep thinking that Tucker and Dale are murderers, but these people are just really dying by accident, and it just seems like they're killing them. So it's hilarious, man. It just keeps happening throughout the whole movie, and it's so funny. Ash vs. Evil Dead, fantastic follow-up to the Evil Dead series. If you don't watch Ash vs. Evil Dead, you should. The third season starting close to the end of this month, really. It's a Spanish film. Maybe I know it under the Spanish name. I don't think it's called Day of the Beast. Dia de la Bestia? I doubt it. How about Splice? I saw Splice. I saw that in the theater. It was pretty good, but it's not one of those movies I would watch a bunch of times. Cabin in the Woods is a fantastic homage to horror in general, the whole genre. And it not only does it homage to the genre, it parodies it, but does it in a very respectful way. And yeah, it's just really good. I love the ending, and everything about it was great. And it was, I went to go see that movie in the theater, right? Because I was just like, horror movie in the theater, let's go check it out. The trailers didn't really show too much what it was. Like from the trailers, I was just expecting a normal, I was just like, well, it's a horror movie. I'm gonna end up seeing another one of these cliche teen horror movies, whatever. And the first half of the movie starts off as if it's that, but then it totally turns around and becomes this whole other thing that's fantastic. It totally blows you away. Army of Darkness is staple, but that's like when me and Billy were talking about the Evil Dead series earlier, and he says that they were getting campier and campier each one. I agree with that, and I think Army of Darkness went a little too far to the campy side. I still love that movie, and it has classic fucking hilarious scenes, but it wasn't so much horror anymore. It started going more towards the comedy, slapsticky aspect of it, which Evil Dead 2 I thought was great because it had a good balance of that. It was still a little slapsticky, but not to the point where it was too much. Nowadays we get some good ones that end up getting too many sequels. I thought Insidious was cool. I thought Insidious had a really cool concept where they go into like the further, and it was like a ghost realm, and that was really cool. and I enjoyed that. But then they started making too many sequels. The second one was still all right, and then they did a prequel one. Like, why? Uh, and it's not that it was bad, but it was just more of the same thing. And then now recently, and last month, I went to go see the last one, the fourth one, and it was a sequel to the prequel. And it was like, well, why are you doing this? Just fucking continue the story, or don't make any more. I don't see why you would make prequels and prequels, sequels and sequels, prequel sequels. I don't get it. Buffy, the original movie of Buffy was great, and I remember that era was funny because it was what's his name? The guy who does Pee Wee Herman. He just got in trouble for jerking off in a porn theater and shit. And it was all over the news, and he was like not getting any work, and then he finally got work as one of the vampires in Buffy, and it was a really funny character too. Ghost Ship, I never watched. I only saw the intro of it, and I've heard and the intro is great, but I've heard that's like the best part of the movie. So I don't know. Yeah, Paul Rubin, you're right, that is his name. So I didn't see an interest in watching it anyway. About Lost Highway, would you call that horror? I guess psychological horror. I don't know what Enemy is, but Lost Highway. I am a huge fan of what's his name? Oh God, I can't remember his name. The guy did a fucking Twin Peaks and shit. Yeah, but yeah, I'm a huge fan of him, and I'm a big fan of David Cronenberg. If you guys haven't seen any Cronenberg films like Scanners or Videodrome, those movies are great, crazy films. David Lynch, yes, that's who it is. I always fuck his name up because I like David Cronenberg, and that's two Davids. And I think they're both from Canada too. So and they're both very strange filmmakers, but in two different ways. But I end up confusing them. Mindhunters, I haven't seen that. Scanners, oh yeah, that's like has to do with people who have like telepathic abilities, but the telepathic ability is like they can make people's heads explode. So there's like a scene where they hire one of these people, like there's like an agency that finds these people, and then they make them work for them, and they get the guy to work for him, and then there's a politician they want to get rid of. So the politician's doing like a conference, and he's talking in front of all these people in front of TV. So they put this guy in front of TV, and they're like, "I'll make his head, murder this guy," basically. And he sits there, and he's like, and then you see the politicians talk. I don't know what happened here. Guys, are you still seeing me? Am I still streaming? Can somebody in the chat let me know? I think I might have disappeared for a bit, but I might be back now. Am I back yet? Let's see. Okay, I'm back. You can hear me, but my cam's not on. All right, I'll work on that, but maybe I'll smoke a bowl real quick while my camera's down. All right, well, I don't know what happened. Like all the pages I had open just asked me to reload. They all went white and said, "Oh snap, something went wrong." Yeah, so I don't know what happened with that, but I'll keep talking. I'll turn the camera on in a bit. But at least I'm back on. But yeah, David Cronenberg is a fucking amazing. If you haven't watched any of his films, he makes some psychotic films with some really surreal imagery and special effects. Really good. Farewell to the New Flesh, or Farewell to the Flesh. What other ones? You guys got any other movies you want to hear me talk about? Mindhunters with LL Cool J. I don't think I've seen those. Basket Case, yeah, that's one of those old like good bad horror movies that's like so bad, but it's so good because it's bad. That's great. Oh, what was it? It was like his evil twin or something that was like deformed, and he kept it in a fucking like basket and shit. It's fucking nuts. Yeah, so anybody want to come hang out with me, let me know. I'm gonna dump the link in some places. I don't know if you guys see them. Billy, not sure if I have your email. I'm gonna check it out right now. Let's see if I do. If you can jump in. Yeah, either way, jump in whenever you like, whenever you get the free time. Doobie doobie doo ba ba ba. Slumber Party Massacre was really cheesy. A lesbian made that film, and she made it as kind of like a commentary on horror films and the way they treat women, but which is why the guy had a drill and he drilled all the women and shit. Anybody in the chat come in, let me know. I'm not gonna promise that I'll bring you in though. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But yeah, Billy, do I have your email? Yes, I do. Okay. So all right, let me copy your email. Oh, compose. Sorry, I'm being a little boring here. I can't do both talk and send people invites at the same time. It's a multitasking problem. But I'm almost done. Okay. Alfred Hitchcock films were great. The Birds, if you guys never seen Birds, that was an enjoyable one. A lot of people think it's kind of silly because it's like birds attacking people, but it was done so well, at least for its time. David Lynch wrote Twin Peaks. Yeah, it was David Lynch I was thinking of. Hey, Kelly, how are you? Kelly's a youngin. You know any horror movies, Kelly? What are the kids like these days? My face is right here. What are you talking about? You missed my face. I watched like 2 weeks of Bollywood videos, Bollywood movies. I wonder what Bollywood horror movies were. Did India ever have a horror scene? I don't know. That's got to be pretty funny. You should send the link. Yeah, I don't know Philip Anselmo to send the link to him, but that would be fucking awesome if I could get Philip Anselmo to talk horror with me. I'd also love to talk the Smiths with him as well. The Smiths are great. I know. I wouldn't mind talking horror with Devin. I know he's not a huge horror fan, but he does like some classic ones that was from our generation, like when we were kids and stuff. So I wouldn't mind picking his brain and seeing which ones. I remember he brought up Creepshow one time and I was like, yeah, Creepshow is fucking awesome. And we were talking about that. Not sure if he's around though. Phil knows every horror. Yeah, maybe that's something I can ask Devin to do for me, or you, Billy, if you ever want to do a stream with Philip and Selma, and we'll talk about horror. That would be cool. I noticed when Devin was streaming with him, all these fucking classic horror like posters in his background, and I was like, oh my god, that's fucking awesome. Like the Exorcism of Emily Rose. I mean, that movie wasn't bad, but I don't know. I don't know. It wasn't so great either. Lately, most horror isn't great. Yeah, I was talking about that earlier. How horror was very, I don't know. I had way more passion when they made it back in the day than they do now. It just seems like they just kind of throw things together and try to do what they know will works on teenagers and they can get money off of it. And they don't care about these movies getting super popular. They only care about making money back. You know, it's a quick buck for them. You know, they know it's gonna make money. They can just do it with a short budget and they'll make enough back that it'll be gaining money, you know. And that's why sometimes they release them at weird times. Like I said, I just saw the fourth Insidious movie last month, and it's like, why would you release a horror movie in January? Like that's so weird. But they did, and I went to go see it. And the theater wasn't packed, but it wasn't empty either. Had a decent amount of people. Blair Witch when it first came out, yeah, that was a really changed shit, and it was good. I'm not opposed to found footage. A lot of people dislike found footage, but I think if you do it right, it can be done well. And Rec was one of those, the Spanish one, not the American one, the one from Spain. That was done real well. Is there a new Halloween coming out? Yes, there is, Marino. And it's gonna have Danny McBride in it, which I find very strange. But he was also in the new Alien, so I guess we'll see. Oh, talking about that, Alien, that was great genre blending movie. And it was amazing, and it had the horror. The horror aspect was great, not because there was a monster, but it was a very isolationist film. Like watching that film, you felt isolated. You were like stuck in this ship with these people, and with like this is a lot of people like Aliens better because it's more action. I could see it's definitely more audience friendly. The first one was all about the horror and it was just one alien, and it really went into them being isolated in this place and this one alien fucking just you never knew when it was gonna pop up. It was just really a really good movie. So well done and well paced and choreographed. Not choreographed, cinematographed. Is that a word? Maybe not, but it's a word I'm using now. Let's see. The Species was a shitty movie. Sorry, you liked it as a kid, probably because the chick was naked in it and fucking sticking her tongue down people's throats. Yeah, Marino loved Wreck. Yeah, great movie. The Spanish can make some good horror movies sometimes. Do serial killer ones count as horror or murder dramas? Yeah, they toe the line. They could be horror. A good horror serial killer one was H with the guy who plays Merle from Walking Dead. That was a good one. Scariest movie I've ever seen is probably Strangers. Strangers wasn't bad. I dig that. But if you liked Strangers, Kelly, you should check out Funny Games. That was a way better home invasion movie. Bleep, bleep, bleep. Misery was nuts. Misery was good. Stephen King again. Love Stephen King films. Christine. Christine was about a killer car. Like you hear about that and you're like, yeah, that's gonna suck. But you watch it and it was actually a pretty fucking good movie. And it was John Carpenter made that as well. The Remnant. I'm not sure I saw that. Acting in Saw movies is often bad. Yeah, you're right. The Saw movies usually have bad acting, but it didn't start off bad. They just made too many of those. They really should have stopped after like 3. The Thing, of course, fantastic. I think we talked about that earlier. More movies to make me fear living alone. Yes. Oh man, I could probably make a list for you of movies to watch that'll scare the shit out of you if you live alone. Yeah, women tend to be scared of in these horror movies more. Oh yeah, this will bring me to a topic where I like to write, so I've written horror and I write like short stories and stuff, and I come up with a lot of ideas. I have a notebook full of fucking ideas for short stories that I should really get to writing at some point. But I used to live with an ex-girlfriend of mine, and when I would tell her a story, she would ask me, not that they're all this, but there was a good amount of them that had female characters as the main character, and she would ask me like, why do you use female characters? And if you notice, horror does that a lot. They often put females as the main character, and there's a good reason for this. Women are scared more than men. You know what I'm saying? It's as simple as that. And in certain scenarios, it is more horror if you to put a woman in that scenario than a guy. Like think about like Child's Play, right? Child's Play was the protagonist was a little kid and his mom. So like. And this is a doll. If there was a man in there that was the cop or something, or I think he was, right? He was a detective. But if you think about it, if it was a guy who was the main character the whole time against a doll, you'd think the guy would probably just punt the doll out the window, and end it right there. But a woman would probably be afraid if a doll came at him with a knife. She'd be like, "Oh fuck," A guy would probably be like, "What the fuck is this thing?" Blah, fucking kick that shit right out the window and end it right there. Phoenix 5. I don't think I've ever seen that. Yeah, another thing with back in the day, you used to find a lot of good low budget B movie horror movies, and nowadays it's so oversaturated with that it's hard to even find the good ones in there. A lot of times people will recommend a movie. Oh, you should watch this, and it's a movie that I've skipped over 100 times on like Netflix and been like, oh, this is garbage. Like it looks like garbage just from the cover. But then I do give it a chance because someone recommended it to me and find out that it's really good. Tucker and Dale was one of those. I kept seeing that on Netflix for a long time and never gave it a chance because it just looked so cheesy. But then somebody told me, "Oh yeah, you got to watch that. It's good." Oh, another movie that really surprised me that I only got into recently, movie series, was Hatchet. Those are fucking great. You need, oh my god, if you're a fan of horror in general, and it is one of those slasher films, but it's done so well, and it's like an homage to old horror, and it's complete gore fest, and it's just done so well. Yeah, definitely check out Hatchet. Those are good movies, series of movies. What did I think of Cloverfield? I loved the first Cloverfield. I thought it was really good. Like I said, I'm not really against found footage films, and I thought that one was done really well. But even better than that was the second one. The second Cloverfield was amazing, and that's on the fact that it was a totally different movie. It wasn't really a Cloverfield movie. But yeah, the Cloverfield stuff happened at the end, and that was great too. But the best part of the second Cloverfield movie is just, the whole story with John Goodman and Mary Elizabeth Winston in the basement. I can go into also talking about studio intervention as well. They made a Thing prequel. I think it was in 2011, and it came out. I enjoyed it. A lot of people hate it, but there's a main reason why it came out bad when it really was a good movie. And it was because they had these amazing practical effects that they worked on for months and months and months, and they came out beautiful, and these creatures looked amazing. And then at the last minute, the fucking studio orders fucking a CGI company to go over all of the practical effects. So all these beautiful practical effects that these people spent months working on was just totally erased with this shitty looking CGI that took them that they only had like 2 weeks before release to get done, and it just looked horrible. But these people did so much work to make this a good movie, and it got ruined by the studio. I mean, by putting in so much work is that they watched the original Thing remake and watched it so many times to get the sets perfect, to make everything, the story take place exactly before that film and tie it in perfectly without fucking up at all. Like every scene in that movie, you can go watch the Thing and see that the same room was there, and where if there was damage in the old one, they would go into how, it would happen during this prequel movie, and you'd see where that damage came from, and just worked great, man. It could be such a good movie, and to this day there's people online fighting for them to release the director's cut on DVD with all that fucking shitty CGI taken out, so that we can get, they also changed the ending so that we can get the original ending, and all this shitty CGI taken out, and the original prosthetics put back in that were done so well in practical effects. Todd in the Book of Pure Evil, have not seen that. Is that good? Maybe I will check that out. There's talk of Tucker and Dale 2 versus zombies. I might want to check that out. Tucker and Dale was a fun movie. People should check that out. All right, so the new Cloverfield just came out, and I thought that was really good too. And that's kind of like another genre blending one of sci-fi and horror, and that was done really well. Another really good Lovecraftian film that takes place in space, and it was actually originally made to be like The Shining in space, which is a really good movie, is Event Horizon. That came out in the 90s. If you guys haven't seen that, Sam Neill is in that too, and that's really good. Saratra says, my dad made an exact replica of Chucky, and my sister terrorized me as a kid. That's pretty funny. Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of Child's Play, but I did like them. I liked the first two. I remember begging my mom to take me to the theater to see the first one, and we went to go see it, and my mom hated that. But Hellraiser is a classic. That was one of my favorites too when I was younger. I used to watch that a lot. The first two Hellraisers. After the second one, it all pretty much went downhill. And even the second one's not as good as the first, but the first Hellraiser is amazing, and the second one was really good too. I still one of my favorite things about the second one was that they go into this other dimension where the Cenobites are from. That was really cool. Whew, I've been talking for a while. My throat is dry. What else, you guys? You guys got to give me something else to talk about. Where can I find a ghost to suck my dick? No, I would say Amityville, but I think that that's fake. Amityville Horror was a cool movie when I was a kid. I liked that, and I had the book too, and I read that. I still have my first edition of the book, but it's definitely fake. I don't believe that. When I was a kid, Billy says he's gonna be here in 5 minutes for school. When I was a kid, not when I was a kid, when I was in like my early 20s, there was this thing called Weird New Jersey. I made a video about one of the stories of the stuff we went through, but we used to go check out all these like places that's supposed to be like paranormal stuff because that would be in the magazine. It's called Weird New Jersey. It would it would come out once every season, and they would talk about like all the haunted places and stuff and weird things to find in New Jersey. So like every once in a while we'd pick up one of those and go visit the places in them. And but this one's not in New Jersey, but you know, in doing those, we were like, well, you know, Amityville's not far from here. That's Long Island. Like we can get there real quick. So we decided to go. We went to Long Island. We parked it. We got there at like 2 in the morning because that's when we would do this. We'd start at like midnight or 1 in the morning. And we went there. We went to the Amityville house. We like parked out across the street from it, and we were like, yeah, just looking at it. Like, what? We were in our 20s. We didn't have shit to do but fucking drive around, and get fucked, you know, smoke weed and get fucked up and check these places out. And yeah, eventually a cop came and they were like, oh, you guys coming here to check out the haunted house? It's not haunted. It's just a fucking movie. You know, it didn't really happen. Leave these guys alone. People live here, you know. So, you know, eventually we left. Jay Turner's here. Hello, Jay.
Hello, you beautiful buddy. How's it going, mate?
Good, man. Chilling.
Yeah, you said come in, whatnot. I thought I'd just pop by, say I love you, man.
Yeah.
I don't really know much about horror, but I just thought I'd give you a couple of my favorites.
Yeah. Give it up.
I like 28 Days Later.
We
already talked about that in 28 Weeks.
What about?
I quite like Shaun of the Dead.
Shaun of the Dead, good one, man. Yeah, Shaun of the Dead's great, and that's like an homage to like old zombie movies. They did a great job parodying it and homaging it. You ever watch The Day of the Triffids? That's a British classic.
Day of the
Triffids. Yeah, that's a classic British sci-fi horror. They've remade it so many times too. Marino brought up The Omen. The Omens are great.
I can't say I do, mate. No.
I got more. Oh, there's been so many remakes. There was ones in the 90s. I think there was one in 2000 something. They remake it every couple of decades.
Fair enough. You have to send me a link to some that you want me to check out, and I'll check them out.
Sure. I will. What other movies you got? What other movies did you like? Maybe as a kid or something?
I'm trying to think, mate. I also pulled up a list. Alien's a brilliant fucking movie.
Alien, yeah, that's a classic, man. Super good.
Yeah.
That one's great for the atmosphere. Just, you feel that isolation they feel while you're watching it. Like.
Yeah, definitely. I did see one film recently. It's meant to be a horror, but I don't know. It was a bit shit. It's that Attack the Block. You ever seen that?
Yeah, I like that movie. You didn't like that?
I can't remember what it was about.
But yeah, it wasn't really horror. It was more like an action-y kind of thing. It wasn't really much.
Action-y sort of piss take of horror.
Yeah. What's up, Billy?
Yo, what up, guys?
Oh, Billy Bong is here. Hello. Billy Bong.
What about the famous British movie, The Last Wanker on the Left?
The Last Wanker on the Left. Is it about Jay? that would be hilarious. Is that a real movie? Like a joke?
No, I'm just fucking around.
I thought maybe it was like a parody film or something. That would be a funny parody film to make.
That would just be a parody of my life.
Just taking the piss.
Taking the piss.
He's got good banter, mate. Good banter.
Banter.
So yeah, I thought of a bunch of movies that weren't mentioned.
Oh, what's up?
Well, first of all, I don't think you mentioned Friday the 13th.
I did say I liked that series, but I didn't go deep into it. I said
obviously no.
I was saying I liked the first three, and I liked his potato sack face better than his
no, come on,
his hockey mask. Yeah, I do. I like the potato sack with the one eye cut out. I
He was
always
a
like
fucking. He had a flannel shirt on. He was a goddamn hillbilly, bro. He was hillbilly Jim. Like,
I was down with that.
oh my god.
And he had his. That was the same one where he had his mom's head
Yeah.
around candles and stuff in the cabin. That
The
was that
fourth
was
one. You forgot to mention the fourth one, which is
Which one was
probably
the
the
fourth
best
one?
one.
Was that with
The
was that the
final
one
chapter,
Corey
the
Feldman?
original final movie of
Yeah,
the
where Corey Feldman
series.
hits him with an axe over the head.
Like
and-
that was the end of that series until
Yeah. But it
some
was so
assholes
popular. Of course,
bought
they're
it
not
out
gonna
and shit.
there. That shit made so much money for them.
Who's got all the hissing?
I think that's Jay.
Oh, that might be. I got a shit
Are
headphone
you
set
like
on.
literally in the English Channel at the moment?
Yeah.
Shit.
Right.
I'm fucking with you, Jay. I love you. You're the best.
Yeah, Texas.
I love you too, man. Hey, actually, if I was on cam, it's actually quite funny, but I am literally wearing my Godless hoodie right
Well,
now.
we know you're either wearing one of two hoodies. We
Yeah,
know that.
that's all he ever wears.
Nah. I got
I
other
wanna
hoodies.
I want one with a zipper, but they won't let me put the print across the chest on the one with the zipper.
Really? Why not? That's
I don't know. They're just like you can't because it's got to be on one side or the other. I don't fucking know.
why not? Why don't they let you put God on one side and less on the next side? I don't know.
I have to cut up the picture then and
Yeah,
put it
maybe.
up. I could do it, but
Yeah, maybe you could do it. Put more of a space between God and less.
Yeah.
And they're probably
I
saying
see.
that because the L probably ends up right where the zipper is.
it doesn't though. That's like the thing.
Oh,
It's
it
like,
doesn't?
You could space it. You could stretch it and shrink it so that it's good. But I don't know why they.
Yeah, Kelly's saying Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Of course, that's a classic.
I
That
just
also.
remembered Halloween. We haven't talked
Yeah,
about Halloween.
Yes, of course.
But I was gonna say Texas
Fuck.
Chainsaw Massacre was good because it was under the pretense that it was real, and it really had like a realism to it. Where when they filmed it, a lot of the times the actors didn't know when Leatherface was gonna pop up, so they really had that scare factor. You know, like they wouldn't tell
Fuck it.
them what they're gonna see. You know, next.
Well, that-
you know, there was that
I
scene
think-
where the girl was in that like in that little freezer thing.
Uh-huh.
And they just told the actor to open up the freezer. They didn't tell him that there was going to be someone inside. So he opened it. He was really like, "Oh shit," you know?
Yeah, she
So they
jumps
really
out. She's not
captured
dead
that.
yet.
Yeah. They really captured that realism.
But
there.
what happened? He just like left her there. Like,
Oh no, that's when then he.
oh, that's when he gets killed.
scared and he turns around and Leatherface is there and clocks him over the head. With
It's
the
just
hammer.
like
But she-
he left the bitch there.
But she got scared twice because he didn't know that the Leatherface was going to be behind him. So he turns around and he's like, "Oh
Yeah.
fuck!" Get scared again. Like what the fuck?
That is the scene where she walks in is one of the best fucking scenes in any horror movie ever. Like where she walks into the house and they got the camera angle,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
looking at her ass. But just the whole scene is amazing, cinematographically, and like the cinematography is amazing. And
And the horror starts out of nowhere because they're just walking in the house, and then all of a sudden, Leatherface pops out of nowhere, clocks somebody over the head,
Exactly.
and
It's
like
like,
off, and you're like, "What the fuck just happened?" Like what?
oinking like a pig, and like what the fuck
Yeah.
is oinking?
Oh,
Like I'm
great.
investing.
Yeah,
that
such a good.
See, like I don't know, those movies are just like that and Halloween are so fucking and Evil Dead. That's why I like the first Evil Dead better.
Mm.
They're so perfectly done. Like the cinematography is awesome, the
Yeah.
story is awesome, the suspense is fucking great.
Which
Everything
Halloween
is
movie?
perfect.
Sorry, I was
With
just
the
going to ask,
first one.
which Halloween movie was it with the where the kids put the masks on and then they would
Oh,
end
that's
up
the
with
third
the
one.
That's Alf's favorite.
it's the yeah that's one of my
It's not
favorite.
It's Jake.
No, it's my
It's not my
favorite
favorite,
actually.
but
I really
That's
love
of
that
those
one.
movies I
I
hated.
think the way that they did that was amazing.
That's a
Sorry,
movie I hated as a kid, but grew appreciation for when I was older because I basically hated it because it didn't have Michael Myers in it.
Well, you told me why, right?
Yeah.
Was it you that told me why? That it's
And it
supposed to
killed
be anthology series.
Yeah. He
but-
always wanted to be anthology, but they made him make a sequel, so he made the sequel, and then he was like, "All right, after sequel, we're going to do the anthology," and then that didn't do well because everybody loved Michael Myers already, you know, and they wanted more of that,
yeah.
so it killed the bet.
Yeah,
It's always interesting to think what would have happened if it did continue that way, and what other movies we would have gotten out of those anthologies. You know?
But see, that's why I
But then we
don't.
wouldn't have had all the Michael Myers, so it's kind of a
The reason I don't like the fucking Rob Zombie movies are because they're just blatant fucking ripoffs of these movies. I know he's trying to pay homage, but it's more like, no, don't.
But it's like not liking Quentin Tarantino movies because his movies are homages to.
I'm
old
not
movies.
that big of a fan of Tarantino.
Oh,
I
there
was
you
only-
go.
I was
I
only-
mean, they're all right, but I don't know. He's
Speaking
sort
of
of a
Rob
fucking
Zombie, I was
tool.
only introduced to his stuff last year,
Mm.
and that was at Download, and I saw him live, and I thought his music stuff was alright, but what I've
Oh,
seen so far,
His
films,
music
I've not really liked.
sucks. I hate fucking Rob Zombie music.
That's another
Every-
thing.
Mate,
Every
maybe I was
song
high and
sounds
pissed
exactly
at the
the
time.
same. Like It's all yeah.
Hey,
He's a gimmick, Rob.
It was like
Zombie.
7 o'clock
That's
at
why
night.
I don't fucking like his.
But I like
shit.
his movies because he's one of the only people who does like the old style fucking.
Yeah,
type
but it's too
of
blatantly done, like old style. Like for you to pull that off now, you just have to make a good movie, and it so happens to be like old style. Not I'm trying to be old style.
and I still
Yeah.
dig it.
That's why I'm just not into it, man. Like I said, House of a Thousand Corpses and every other fucking movie since is just a remake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre all the time.
No
It's
way.
always some crazy family in a house who tortures fucking.
Lords of Salem wasn't that? Lords of Salem was about this music that these witches made that caused fucking chaos and shit. It was fucking nuts. It was like this weird
Is that
fucking
Rob Zombie? I don't know.
Oh, yeah, and they would play the record and it would be like.
I didn't mean any of his. I just mean any fucking horror you wind up seeing nowadays. It's like somebody who's crazy and out in the middle of nowhere tortures.
The haunted house genre is basically dominates horror now, and it's so annoying. It's all you get. now.
Ghost movies, paranormal.
Oh, what's
bullshit.
even worse? The worst thing you get now is you get these movies where it's like you think the ghost is the bad guy, but it's not. It's really somebody killed that person, and now the ghost is haunting someone to lead them to, to find the guy who's probably like hooking up with the girl who's the main character, and then they find out, oh no, he's a killer. He killed a girl.
Isn't that Scream?
No, Scream didn't have any ghosts.
No, but Scream had the boyfriend.
Yeah,
was the
that
killer.
was the killer. But that always
Yeah.
happens now, and it's always the ghost you think is the bad guy haunting the girl, but the girl finds out that the ghost was murdered and was giving her clues that the guy that she's dating is the murderer. And it happens so much. It's like every movie now.
I don't know. I feel like those three movies, that I mentioned, Evil Dead, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Halloween, are just perfectly done horror movies.
Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the
Only
Dead, yeah,
other
it's
horror
a little
movie I can
different.
think of that-
Yeah, but Dawn of the Dead is one of my favorites too. That was cool.
Definitely. I like it.
oh,
Best
yeah,
out of all
definitely.
his.
And that was just basically the cool thing about that was just basically people trying to survive in the mall and shit. Like
What about Candyman?
Candyman's
Candyman
pretty
was
good.
cool. Yeah, it was cool, but it wasn't all that great. But it was cool. That was based on a Clive Barker story too.
Oh, didn't
Like
know
Hellraiser.
that.
Hellraiser.
These
What do you
about
think
all the
of
horrors I
Hellraiser?
know.
Did you like Hellraiser, Billy?
There's a couple of horrors I've never seen that I should have, obviously. Like I've been watching horror movies since I'm like 4 years old.
Yeah, but there's some you
So-
missed, right?
Yeah, like that one. I never seen it
man,
or got
Hellraiser's
into it.
great.
I wouldn't consider it horror, but Alien I've also never seen.
You never seen the original Alien?
Isn't that crazy?
That is
Oh
crazy.
my god, Billy, that's mental.
I know. And
That's
there was another one
mental.
that I didn't see that I can't I think Phantasm maybe. I never seen Phantasm.
Oh yeah, those were really fucking interesting. Like those movies were very original. Like it's just a
Yeah.
weird concept.
And they're
It's good.
classics. So like,
Yeah, they are classic. Yeah, you got damn Billy, you got to catch up on stuff. What it is?
No,
is
but
you
that's
gotta-
but everyone's like that. Everyone's
yeah,
not.
yeah,
seen-
everybody's got certain movies that they haven't seen that were classic history.
Like, but that's the thing. I don't want to go back and watch them now. And it's like, are they gonna
That's
be?
what could.
Are they gonna hold up? Like, am I
Yeah,
gonna?
that's the thing that could happen. They might
I'm
have
gonna
been
watch it and be like, this movie's not great. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, just
Alien.
because I'm not seeing it at the time.
I think you take Alien either way. I think that movie holds up.
Yeah,
Scott's
Alien
pretty
holds
good,
up.
I mean.
It's amazing on cinematography and sound and just
I do not
everything.
like Sigourney Weaver.
And
Though,
just
so that
atmosphere.
could kill it. That may be the reason I've never seen it.
It is her first movie though, so maybe it's before.
Yeah,
what
but
you don't
it's
like
her.
about her. I don't know.
It's her. She's.
I remember
it's
they
all her.
showed her ass in like panties in that movie, and she's got no ass.
She's not good looking.
No, not at all. And I'm like, why do they focus on her ass? She's got no ass. Like that makes no sense.
Yeah, I don't
yeah,
know. I
you
never
ever
saw
see
those.
Return
So
of the-
Hellraiser's one I definitely should have seen, but
Yeah,
it also wasn't my genre. Like I was more into the slasher shit. So.
See, yeah, I was opposite. I didn't like the slasher aspect so much, or if I did, it was because it had a supernatural aspect to it. Like like Nightmare on Elm Street.
See, that was my least favorite of the big three.
Yeah, that was my favorite. Yeah, that was my favorite. Freddy Krueger was always my favorite. I always
Because
liked-
of that, probably because of the supernatural shit.
Uh,
Halloween was like Friday the 13th. I think I liked the most when I was younger, but now it's definitely like Halloween was definitely one of my
Halloween.
favorite.
Yeah, it was great.
Everything about that movie, like just his face appearing out of the shadows in the background, like at the top of the steps when she I forgot what happened, but he's like coming up from behind her, and all of a sudden, like his face just appears out of the background. It's like such
Like,
a fucking
when they
well
would
shot
drop
scene.
when they would drop him and he'd get back up, he'd always do like that quick pop up and shit, and he'd be like, "Oh shit!" And he looks over at them and like, "Oh."
Dude, the fucking scene where he chokes the dog to death. How fucking
Yeah.
crazy is that scene, dude? Like the fucking leg just just falls. Like it's so fucking realistic. Like I don't know.
Yeah, those movies are
Anyway, Alfie, Billy, I'm gonna bounce because I need to get food and stuff because I need to rest because I got to
Don't you
stream
have
in a bit.
a stream to go on?
Yeah, he's got a stream.
Yeah, in like,
in 3 hours.
3 hours
Yeah.
time. Yeah, 3 hours.
You haven't slept at all either?
No, I've fucking
Oh.
been out. I've had shit to do, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know how it goes. Fucking
I know
life,
it's
mate.
like 2 a.m. for you when you start streaming. So.
Yeah, it will be. But it's
All
all
right, man.
good. Well, you guys have fun chatting about horror movies and whatnot.
Man, thanks.
you, Jay.
Thanks for stopping by.
Peace.
Yes,
Love you
indeed.
guys.
There's a
See
couple
you
other
later.
movies I was thinking of. Sleepaway Camp.
Sleepaway Camp. That was only good because the ending was so shocking, right? Like, it was like, whoa, like what?
When you're a kid, you just like don't even know what the fuck you're processing. You're like, what
Especially
is
in the
it?
80s.
Yeah.
Like it was like, wait, this chick has a dick? What? like
How
what's
did you
going
have
on
a dick?
here?
How is that a boy?
Yeah,
The
what- yeah,
face
it-
is a boy. Like,
we're
what's
the
going
same
on
age,
here?
so when I saw that, yeah, I was totally confused by what was going on. I was like, wait, what? Like, is there a dick there? I don't get it. What's going on here? Is the dick the monster? I don't understand.
The first true trans victim
Yeah, true.
is
Yeah,
Angela.
and that's why trans people are disliked now because of that.
Because of that movie, because they're serial killers. We've been portrayed as serial killers and everything.
Oh man, I'm surprised that hasn't happened yet, but I'm sure they haven't.
We should
found that
parody
movie.
old shit like that. Like
Yeah, we should.
just like SJW up old shit that we've seen and loved. Just
Yeah,
for the hell of
'cause,
it.
There's so many times I see SJW say shit that I'm like, dude, there's movies that did that in the 80s. Like, no, they're not bringing that up. All right, that's hilarious.
You said The Howling. I said The Howling. Actually, Howling was just
Fan of that.
Howling was fucking scary. That was one of the movies, only movies I think as a kid that I was like, whoa, this is a little fucking scary.
Yeah,
Because like
those
I
movies
like
were
them
kind of
all.
weird though. I don't know. There was something weird about those movies. That
They,
didn't
were,
catch
they
me.
had sexual aspect to it.
Yeah, maybe that could have been it, and I was still kind of young.
I think that's
Well,
why it was intriguing for me. Like I was
Yeah.
like, what is this? Ooh,
Who's your
titties
favorite
and
of
porno.
the
What's
old-
going on here?
Who's your favorite of like the old Universal monsters, like Dracula, Frankenstein, Wolfman, Mummy? Like who's
That's
your
what's
favorite of
fun. That's another thing I never got into. The classics. I
Yeah,
want to.
those? Jekyll
I
and
want
Mr.
to.
Hyde, Invisible Man. Those are
Yeah,
cool.
I never fucking got into those. I don't know why. I should check them out, but I feel like that's another thing. I'm gonna be like, it's already past its time for.
Oh yeah, yeah. Those are kind of.
I don't
Not
know.
only were they super old when we were kids, but like now it's like watching.
Is
them as an adult.
Nosferatu one of those, or is it? Is
That's
that
even
newer?
older. That was like the
It's
first
older.
adaptation of Dracula. Yeah, that's like the 20s or something.
Nosferatu.
Nosferatu.
He's creepy looking. He doesn't really look like your average Dracula. Yeah,
No, yeah, he looked all monstrous and stuff, which I thought was cool. A different aspect to that.
that's a fucking good movie, by the way. Bram Stoker's Dracula by fucking
Yeah,
Francis
yeah. I saw that
Coppola.
in the theater. Yeah, I went to
That's
the
a
theater.
fucking good one. What's his face? Isn't it?
Marino says the Blair White Project.
That's what I was going to argue about. Fight me on Blair Witch. Terrible.
The Blair Witch? I didn't think it was terrible. I thought it was great,
Terrible.
especially for its time. Like,
Dude,
it
when
was-
I saw that shit in the theater and the end
Mhm.
happened, I was just like, are you fucking kidding
I thought
me?
the
Did
end
I
was
just,
like the
did I
best
just
thing
really
about that
come
movie.
into this movie? Did I just sit through this whole fucking shitty movie? I really did.
I liked it. I thought it was
I-
good.
I like
don't-
that was my thought right
I don't
at
think
the-
it's a movie you can
like, I
watch more
hate
than
this
once
movie.
for
Holy
sure.
shit.
Like it's a one-time viewing movie. But I
Yeah.
liked the ending. I thought the ending was the only good thing about it. Like
I
everything.
thought it was the worst. It was like so anticlimactic. It was just like, go fuck yourself.
anticlimactic, but it was.
Like, oh wow, it was like that story they told. Who cares?
Yeah.
Like, fuck you.
it
I don't know why. I just hate it.
was like this. Like they
You
pranked.
know
It's like they
why?
pranked you.
No, it was, dude. It was like the
You got
commercials were so fucking intriguing. And then you
Really?
go see the
Yeah,
movie,
yeah.
and besides the fact that 95% of the movie is so fucking worthless,
Yeah, nothing happens.
nothing fucking happens
Yeah.
except for them going in circles and like, oh my god, I'm so scared. Look at these things hanging. Who
I don't know why. I
fucking
still
cares?
dug it though.
Oh my, I don't know. I just never, I never took to that one, man. And the camera angle shooting is, oh, I just hate that shit.
Yeah, you're not a fan of found footage movies, right? Or maybe not a fan, but you don't like them, or you?
Well, if they didn't shake so much, they might be better.
Like I'm not against. I'm not a fan. I wouldn't say I'm a fan of them, but I'm not against them. If it's done well, I like it.
I'm pretty against them, I guess. I don't know.
But
I'm not. I can't really talk on new horror because
you haven't seen
I've just assumed that it's terrible and haven't watched it, most of it.
There's one Wreck that's a Spanish film from Spain, and it's really good. And it's found footage, but it's like a zombie movie, but it takes place in an apartment building. And this lady's coming in to do like an interview with somebody, like a news crew, and they get what do you call that? Quarantined into the building. So that she's stuck in there with her cameraman and shit, and this whole like zombie shit starts going on in the building. It's really good.
That's like Dawn of the Dead when they're in the projects and shit.
Yeah, the projects.
Oh my God. The opening scene, basically, that shit is amazing.
Oh yeah. The black guy with the fro, the zombie.
All the black and Puerto Rican dudes.
Like that chick in the fucking neck and rips off a chunk of her neck.
Oh, dude, he rips off her shoulder.
Yeah.
A chunk of meat
the
from
funny
her
aspect
shoulder.
of that is that the zombies there look like they colored them with like green chalk or
blue,
something.
Did you ever
Like
pause
straight
it when they shoot off his head?
No, I don't think so.
When you
On
gotta
the
pause it,
rooftop,
it's
right?
amazing.
They shoot off his head on the rooftop.
No. They bust in the door.
Mhm.
The what were they? The SWAT team.
Uh-huh.
They bust in the door and they just shoot the guy's head, right? But it just switches from like a dude to like a dummy. Like it's so fucking funny.
I love
you
that.
could
in
freeze
old
frame
movies
it.
when you
It's
can do that,
amazing.
yeah. I see that when movies when like people get thrown out of buildings or something, and then you pause it right when their head is about to hit the pavement, and it's like you can tell it's like a watermelon exploding. And
Oh no, it's too funny the
love that.
transition of one
Yeah.
fucking
yeah, it's great.
one
I love
frame
that.
to the next.
Yeah.
Shit, it's so
From
bad.
human to dummy to back to
It's like the
human.
worst transition I've ever seen. Like, but I love it. Oh, here's one of my favorite horror movies ever. Even though it's got comedic value to it. Return of the Living Dead.
I love that movie. Dude.
Amazing, dude. I've watched it so many times.
Dude, I used to watch a lot as a kid, and then when I grew up, when DVD came around, that was like one of the first DVDs I saw that I was like, "Boop, gotta buy that!" And I watched.
Do you
it
ever
over and over
fantasize about dying?
again. Yeah, oh, Trash getting naked again. Like, it's great. The fucking punk dude. You think I dress like this for me?
That guy, dude, he
Yeah.
gets
He's like, man, this is a way of life, man. You guys
his
don't
head
appreciate
chewed
it.
into. Oh.
Yeah, I fucking love that character.
I actually used that exact scene in the fucking video where he gets his head fucking bitten into.
Yeah. I always wanted to use that clip in something where he talks about how this is a way of life. I love that little speech. Talking about punk rock and shit. You think I
The
dress like
Pathmark
cool.
guy is in that movie, dude.
the Pathmark guy? Who's the Pathmark guy?
He was the old man who runs the place.
Not the
He
old
was
guy
in
who's training the
These
dude, right?
Pathmark commercials and shit. Back
Yeah. Oh my god, dude, you're bringing up like some fucking crazy flashback that's like at the back of my head.
the guy that runs the place that teaches the kid.
Yeah, that's training the kid. Those Path. Wow, I'm gonna have to look up those Pathmark commercials.
Definitely. You'll know
Pathmark
this-
doesn't exist anymore, right? Is that
No,
by
it
YouTube?
does, dude. It
Oh no,
does.
all of ours got turned into Acme.
Oh, wait. They went. There was one here like a year or two ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, last year they all got turned into Acme.
Okay, all right.
So I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
so that's-
Pathmark's gone. End of an era.
That black dude is in another movie before I seen that one though. I don't remember what. fucking
You
movie.
know what movie that guy did that was terrible in the 90s? Fucking Juwanna Man. Do you remember that?
Oh my god, no, I
Do you
don't know
remember
that.
No. He was like a guy who dresses like a woman or something, or the other way around to like play basketball or something. I
I
forgot.
feel like he
I
looks
think
like
he's in the
Arsenio
women's
Hall, but he's not
basketball league.
Arsenio
Yeah, he
Hall.
does. He's kind of fruity, but he's in it. You got to see Juwanna Man. It's such a bad movie. It's one of those movies that are so horrendous you have to see it.
Yeah, Return of the Living Dead is fucking.
Yeah, classic. The second one was
Fantastic.
good too, but then after that, they kind of went a little too serious and lost that parody
The
aspect.
third one was with the chick with the needles. or
Yeah, that
something.
one wasn't too bad though, but it wasn't great either.
I don't even remember the second one.
Yeah,
Barely
it
did.
wasn't too bad. The second one was exactly like the first one. Actually, it was almost the same movie again.
I love when they're fucking there's so many good scenes in the first one. It's just so
God,
good.
I love it. Yeah, remember the
They
when the-
talked, bro. That was great.
Yeah, the pain of being dead. When they ask them, right, why do you eat
It
brains?
never
They're like, it's
goes
the
away.
pain. The fucking
What
brains.
stops the pain?
They-
Brains.
Brains. They chop up the fucking guy and they bring it. They want to fucking incinerate it, so they bring it to the guy in the mausoleum, and they're like, "What's that?" And it was like, "Oh, we found some rabid weasels." Remember, he's like telling them they're rabid weasels.
They
They're like-
nuked the city,
Oh, yeah, they nuke
and
the
that just
city.
made it worse.
And then it starts raining, and it rains down at all the cities around it and shit,
Yeah.
bringing more zombies. Oh man, that movie's
That's-
fucking.
It's a good. That's a
Fantastic.
good. The music at the beginning in the credits. That's fucking a good one.
It's party time. Was that what
I don't remember I don't remember any fucking vocals, but it was
It
just
had all old
this
like,
fast
punk-
paced fucking. I don't know.
Yeah, it was all
I
old
can't.
80s punk bands that did music for that.
There's other
There.
fucking movies I had in mind. You didn't. What about Poltergeist? We mentioned Toby Hooper already. He's fucking.
Yeah,
So
Tobe
that's two movies that are
Yeah,
pretty.
Poltergeist was cool, but that was more like family friendly horror. Like that was the one that
Yeah.
tried to bring the whole family into horror, right? Like
Well,
try
he
to-
did. It
probably one
did
of the
get
first
big, so I guess.
Yeah,
he
and it was a
went
good
the
movie
right
as well.
direction there, I guess. But
That was one of the ones for me that was still scary, even though I wasn't scared of horror movies. And I
That
still
was
scared.
Coach, right? Coach.
Yeah,
was
yeah,
it?
yeah. Judge Nelson or something is his name. I think that's his name.
No, what's his name? I forgot his name.
Yeah, isn't it
Judge?
Judge something?
Really? All right, maybe.
I'll look it up. No, it wasn't Nelson. I think Coach Nelson was his name. in the
Yeah,
show.
exactly. Like,
I'm pretty sure his first
well,
name.
Judd Nelson is the other douche. you know?
Yeah, then Judd Nelson. I'm like mixing people up, but I think that guy's name really is first name is Judge. I'm gonna look it up now. But
Okay, what about Prom Night?
I wasn't a big fan of Prom Night. I remember those, but I wasn't a huge fan of those.
I don't know if I was I've seen so many. Like, I can't even think. I just remember old. I just
so
remember
now-
the covers of so many videos from like going into video stores in the
Yeah.
80s, trying to rent shit and just looking around at all the movies. Like a
when
lot of them I never rented. Like I just.
But
I-
when we were kids, I remember on Saturdays after the cartoons, they would always give like a horror movie on. I think it was on Channel 5 or Channel 11, and they would always
Really? I
give
don't
one.
even
Yeah,
remember
that's where I saw Prom Night. They used to give that one a lot, and Creep Show they used to give a lot. I remember seeing those a lot on Channel 11.
Maybe that is why I seen Prom Night a lot.
Mhm.
that-
Yeah, it would be like Saturday afternoon. It would be a little while after the cartoons ended.
Yeah, I remember now. I
hard.
think it's coming back to me. Wow.
But that guy's name I was calling him Judge Nelson is Craig T. Nelson. I
Craig
had the
T.
Nelson-
Nelson.
I had the
yes.
Nelson partner, right? Not the judge. I don't know where I got that from.
Craig T. Nelson. That's right. They
The really scary part of Poltergeist 2 was remember the old preacher guy?
yeah.
Yeah, he was fucking scary as shit to me when I was a kid. Some fucking
He's
old
like a
guy.
fucking slender manish. type.
Yeah, with those fucking teeth and shit. I'd be like, oh, this guy's crazy. Scary ass fucking scary ass looking dude.
It wasn't as good though. The first one was.
No, it definitely
pretty
wasn't.
good.
And then they definitely went to shit after that.
Here's a good one. I Spit on Your Grave.
Yeah, it's not bad. I
Oh,
wouldn't say
come
it's
on.
like
That movie is
fun.
insane, bro. Like,
Yeah, it had some.
that is
good
one of the
acting.
craziest movies you'll ever watch.
Oh, there you go. Somebody told you, Juana Man is a man who dresses like a woman to play in the WNBA. That would not fly nowadays. Dude.
She'd just be trans. I
Yeah,
think I
Spit
Spit
on
on
Your
Your
Grave
Grave
is
is crazy, bro. They like
I liked it,
rape
but
her
it
for like
yeah.
45 minutes.
Oh yeah,
Of the-
so that's like Last
Crazy
House on the
Advent.
Left, which I didn't like too much either.
It's way worse, I think.
Yeah, it was worse than it, but
I
Well,
don't mean like as a
Last
bad
House on the
movie.
Left
I
was-
mean like
was worse in the aspect where they like tortured the girls. They would make them pee themselves and shit like that.
yeah, I only seen that one once, so I don't fucking remember. it
Yeah,
that
I didn't.
well.
I didn't like the original one. The remake was actually pretty good. It wasn't as bad, but
That's what I was gonna ask you. Did you like the remake?
yeah, I like the remake of Last House on the Left. I didn't see the remake of Spit on Your Grave though. I don't know how that if that's.
No, I didn't see that. There's no.
Yeah, I haven't seen that either. I don't know if that's any good.
I have no idea. I didn't see it. But the first one's crazy. They rape her.
Yeah, it was
forever.
crazy.
And then like
Oh,
she
gets
does
her
all the shit to get them back. She cuts off the
Yeah.
guy's dick. Like that
Yeah,
shit's
yeah.
horrible.
Yeah,
dude.
it's a good movie, but I don't think I'm just saying it's not a great movie. It's not like one that I remember to be fantastic.
Oh no, but it's definitely
It's
gotta
good.
be.
It was
like-
enjoyable.
For horror, you just have to
shocking.
throw it in there. I think, like, just because it's crazy.
And it was all in that era where they're in the 70s where they were really they were making horror movies just to like shock people, like those cannibal movies and stuff like that.
There was other shit. Pumpkinhead. That was so funny.
Pumpkinhead, that was all right. I wasn't a huge fan of those either. Or like Leprechaun and shit. Fuck.
Leprechaun was like early 90s, right?
Yeah. I wasn't a fan of that
That was a
either.
little later. There was,
And then Leprechaun went to the hood.
Ghoulies. What about Ghoulies?
Ghoulies. Wow, I forgot about that movie.
And
Oh,
Critters.
the cover was like one of them coming out of a toilet.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember
And
that.
Critters.
Critters was fun. Yeah, I used to like it as a kid because he was like, I was big into like that 80s hair metal at that time, you know, and he copied like a hair metal guy to make his face and shit. Remember the alien? He took that guy's face. Nicky Steele, I think that was his name, something like that.
Oh, man.
Did you ever see there was like an 80s hair metal horror movie in the 80s called Trick or Treat? Did you ever see that?
Sounds familiar.
Oh man, you gotta see this movie. I think you would love it, especially if you try to put yourself in the mindset of that time. It was great. It was like one of those things where he played the record backwards and it brought back the fucking the rock star that died or something, and he put himself on a record. So when the kid played it backwards, it comes out of the record and shit.
Really? Why is it called Trick or Treat?
I have no idea. It's got nothing to do with the movie, but for some reason they called it Trick or Treat.
That's weird. You were talking about what's it called before. It's one of my fucking favorite movies ever.
Oh,
American Werewolf in London.
Fuck, I love that movie.
Dude, I think it's like one of the first movies I've ever seen, actually.
That was one of those that they would give on TV a lot too on Saturdays that I watched so much.
I don't know. There's this like ongoing joke with my mother. Like, she's like, my aunt was watching it over my house, and we were watching it, and she was like freaking petrified. And I'm like, "What? It's only a movie." I'm like 4 years old, you know. And they're like, "What the fuck?"
My mom hated it, but I loved horror so much that I would make her take me to horror movies in the theater, and she would have her eyes closed like half of the movie and shit. She'd be covering her eyes. She's like, I don't like these movies, but she'd take me though.
Yeah, American. That's
a cool thing for mom to do.
Is crazy. That's a good one too.
Which one?
Like the transformation scene in that in American Werewolf in London.
Oh yeah, classic, man. I think that was
Bad Moon Rising, and then into Blue Moon when he changes.
Yeah, I hear Bad Moon.
That whole movie's great. The fucking subway scene is fucking creepy as hell.
Yeah, what James was saying earlier with the killer, the Nazi scene where he has that dream that the Nazis break into his house. Shit, that was great. It was like Nazi like monsters though, right? They were like one was like a werewolf and one had like a skeleton type face.
Fucking great. Goddamn whatever the fuck. They're just the people in the bar, dude. They're like the fucking slimy goddamn fucking British fucks. Like to just in that bar, dude.
Yeah, I always remember that the homeless guy he kills, his name is Alfie.
They're like, we won't tell you goddamn shit about this werewolf, but you better be careful.
But you better be careful, right?
What the fuck are you talking about, assholes? You scumbag.
So Synthetic Rebellion just said Killer Clowns from Outer Space. You ever watch that?
Never saw that one, no.
No,
I always seen on the shelf, and I'm just like, nah, I'm not gonna bother.
No, it's so much fun, man. That's a great movie.
Wait, there has to be movies with clowns in the 80s that were like pretty scary. Now I guess it was just Halloween. The opening scene. Like
it's surprising how much there wasn't horror movies with clowns. There were here and there, but you'd think there would be so much more.
Yeah, that's I guess why Stephen King did it. He's like,
he definitely capitalized on something that hadn't been done yet when he released that book.
That should have been a movie in the 80s. Like,
which one?
If they had that a movie before,
I mean, that book came out kind of late in the 80s, right? Wasn't it like 86? Yeah. So by the time they finally made something out of it, it was already.
They did make it by like 1990, I think.
Yeah, so they did it pretty quick, but they probably couldn't get it out before the 90s. Right?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I like. I don't think I like the new one better.
I don't know if I like it better either. I kind of like something out of each of them, you know, like
I like a little bit of aspects.
Yeah, they both have an aspect that's good, but it would have been better if they got both aspects in one movie instead of us having to look.
I don't think Pennywise is that scary at all. I mean, like he's scary because of his like if you're a character in the movie, I'm sure he's scary, but like I don't know.
But they did capture his like being extra dimensional more, which was cool. But then, like you said, yeah, he wasn't as scary looking.
Like he not even like he wasn't scary, Tim Curry, but like he was just perfect. I don't know.
But Tim Curry was creepy. There was
He
something
did it fucking perfectly. Like
and the way he acted was great.
It's not even like it's not that great a movie. It's weird. I don't know, but I don't think I like the new one better.
But the new one was definitely lacking on the kids.
It
part,
just
like having an adventure and shit like that.
It was too fast. I think the pace was too fast too.
Yeah,
the story moving along, and it doesn't give you any nostalgia-ness to it. Like,
yeah, that's what the original captures better.
That's because the original goes
back and forth, which I totally forgot.
That's the only fucking reason.
I remember I did the review of that, and I said the original did the kids first, and then you were like, "No, he didn't." I was like, "Oh shit, you're right." Like,
no, they go back and forth in every movie.
It goes back and forth. Yeah.
Every time you are introduced to a character, he has a flashback.
He calls one of the characters, and the character has a flashback, and then they pack up and go, and then the next character gets called, right?
Yeah, and the second movie is mostly the adults, but there's like a flashback or two, but not like the first part of the movie.
I hope the movie doesn't do so good that they stretch it out too long and then they make it.
No, they're just gonna make
or something. Yeah, I hope so.
It's gotta be just
like,
one
it
more.
did so good, so they do a third movie, and it's like, no, you're gonna kill it. You're gonna make it too long. Yeah, but they do shit like that. Look at The Hobbit, right? They did that to The Hobbit. It was supposed to be 2 movies.
That's crazy. When I heard that, I was like, "What do you mean?" Like,
yeah, how are you gonna make it 3 movies?
How is the first Lord of the Rings book?
Yeah, Lord of the Rings.
One movie.
Lord of the Rings is 3 books, and they made 3 movies out of it. But then they get The Hobbit, that's 1 book, and make 3 movies out of it. Like, what?
And that 1 book is a quarter the size of any of the fucking books.
Yeah, exactly. It made no sense.
I don't get that. Like, I didn't see those. I didn't see the Hobbit movies.
No, I enjoyed them, but they do suffer from being too long. I mean, there's just some parts you're just like, why is this still going? Like, we should have gone on to the next scene already.
I'm trying to think of there's so many movies I didn't see. That's why they're probably not sticking out to me. But just like thinking, just picturing the covers of the movies in my head.
Yeah, I talked about so much that I can't think of what I haven't talked about.
You talked
The
about
Fog. Do you remember The Fog?
No, I didn't see that one. I know of it. I know of it. Definitely know of it. But
Adrian Barbeau. That's a great movie.
Well, should I see Alien? I keep asking myself this question all the time.
I don't know why you have not seen that movie. It's so good. It's such a.
It's more sci-fi, probably. That's why.
No, it's actually more horror.
Yeah,
it's way more horror than the second one was. The second one seemed to focus more on the action, but the first one's just straight up like horror. It just happens to be in space,
Interesting. I'll definitely
I think you'd dig it. It's another one. It's a slow movie too. It builds up. It's got that atmosphere where you feel really isolated, and the horror builds up slowly throughout the film.
Yeah, I just hope it's not. I hope it stands the test of time.
Have you never seen any? Never seen any of them?
Well, no. What's the point of seeing the other ones?
Yeah, I know, but that happens sometimes. Like you'll see it on TV or something.
That rarely happens with me. I can't watch movies that.
It's a lot like the Terminator series, where the first one seemed to focus more on the horror aspect, and then the second one got like super actiony, and that's how Alien is. Like Aliens, the second one is really was James Cameron made it, which is Terminator, right? So he made it like super actiony. Which everybody likes that one more, but to me, I like the first one more because it was way more,
I like the second Terminator better, actually, for some reason.
I like the first one better, but most people like the second one better. There's more action.
I didn't like it because of the action. It was just, I don't know. I like how the story went. I don't fucking know.
I like the first one because it built up, right? It was just mostly a chase, and they slowly built up to like the end where it got crazy.
This isn't a horror movie, but it's one of my favorite movies, Natural Born Killers.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Fucking fantastic.
Look, Quentin Tarantino wrote that.
Yeah, I know.
But Oliver Stone made it. So
yeah, he's a fucking whack job.
Maximum Overdrive. You ever seen that with Emilio Estevez?
Isn't that
That's a Stephen King.
Yeah, that's the trucks.
Yeah, it's based on trucks.
I used that in a video once.
Oh, did you? Yeah, with the Green Goblin truck. Hell yeah.
Yep. The Green Goblin truck.
Yeah, I love that thing.
That is a crazy fucking. But that's I didn't see that movie actually in full. I've seen parts of it over the years, like when I was a kid,
Oh,
just
yeah.
on TV. But like,
Yeah, that was on TV a lot.
it's a terrible movie. Like,
Yeah,
like
a lot of
most
people
Stephen
think it's a
King
terrible
movies.
movie, but I like that movie. But I don't think it's like, I don't like it because it's a good movie. I just think it's fun in general. Like,
Most Stephen King movies aren't as good. Only the earlier ones, probably.
yeah, the earlier ones were done well.
They were
The
more
later ones that were
horror-ish.
good are the less horror ones. You know, like Green
Yeah,
Mile
exactly.
and
Yeah,
Shawshank
those are good.
Redemption.
Those are fucking awesome.
Yeah, the
Stand
lesser
By Me
ones.
was good, too.
Stand By Me was great. I was talking to Chris the other day. He didn't even
It's
realize
fucking
that was
fantastic
A
movie.
yeah, he didn't even know that was a Stephen King story. I was like, yeah, dude.
So is Apt
Fuck.
Pupil.
Apt Pupil. That was a good one too.
That's a Stephen King.
Yeah.
They're all from the same book. That
Apt
Shawshank.
Pupil, Shawshank, and
Stand By Me
there
and-
was a Secret Window. Was
That-
in that.
Was that the fourth one? Are you sure?
No, the body wasn't in that. Oh no, wait, you're right.
No, it was
Apt-
the body. It was
the body.
Apt
Apt
Pupil,
Pupil,
Shawshank,
yeah,
Lee
Shawshank.
Haywood, and the Shawshank Redemption.
And was it the breathing method? Was that what that was called? It was
I
the
don't
one
remember
where,
the fourth one because it's the only one that's not a fucking movie.
yeah, but it was one where it was one that had to do with these guys who have a club where they meet at a library and they talk about some crazy shit. And I think that one was called the breathing method, and it was like some chick that got pregnant, but she got decapitated or something, but she practiced some sort of technique that she could keep breathing so she could give
Whoa.
birth to her baby. It was nuts. So the guy's like, they're delivering the baby and he's looking at the decapitated neck and seeing the neck hole, like fucking breathing to try to fucking stay alive
Which
long
book is
enough.
that?
to
Is that
deliver.
four? Is that the season one or four seasons?
No, different seasons is one.
Different
right?
seasons. Isn't
No,
that
yeah,
that one?
different seasons. Yeah, it is. It is. I was
I don't-
confused. I always confused it with 4 Past Midnight because that was the one.
No,
another
Four
one
Past
that was
Midnight.
four
There's
stories.
Langoliers.
Yeah, Langoliers and Secret Windows in that.
Yeah,
That one has a great story called The Library Policeman. You ever read that one?
No, I didn't read
so
Four
good.
Past Midnight. I read a couple. I read Night Shift. I read
Night Shift is my favorite.
Everything's
That's one.
Eventual. I read another one of his fucking not Skeleton Crew. I forget which one it was.
Skeleton Crew is good too.
Different seasons. I read like the 3 that were movies. Actually, I didn't. read
Nightmares
the
and
others.
Dreamscapes. That one was pretty
That
good.
one I didn't read. There's a
That has
bunch
some-
I have that I haven't read.
Yeah, I like his short stories better. I think we had this conversation before. How I'm like
The
really
short
big-
stories are good. The one with
Yeah.
what's there was one crazy one, man, but it's not as popular as the other ones. Night Shift was really good. That was a good.
Yeah,
fucking
Night Shift.
book.
A lot of movies came out of that one. I know Children of the Corn is in that one.
What about is that the same one with no? That's Skeleton Crew, the one with the rats.
Yeah, that was in Skeleton Crew. That was
And so
they
it-
made that movie that it was like hardly anything like the story.
Yeah, and the
but it-
Mist. What was the Mist from that one?
The Mist was the first one on Skeleton Crew. Yeah,
This was from Skeleton Crew.
which
also.
was really like a novelette. That was the longest one. It was like 180 pages or something.
The other thing was fucking pretty big, too. What was the one you mentioned before?
Which one? What are you talking about?
I thought you just mentioned one. Well, Four Past Midnight's pretty big, but it doesn't
Yeah,
have a lot
Four
of
Past
stories.
Yeah, that's like 2. That only has 4. Like how.
But it's a pretty big
different
book,
seasons
though.
did. Yeah, it's a pretty fat one. I read that one recently. Actually, I have the hardcover. It's like fucking this fat and
Mhm.
shit. It's fucking huge.
I have all of them.
Yeah, That's the one I was saying with Library Policeman. You got to read that story. That story's fucking crazy. It's such a
Library.
weird story.
What
And
was
then
the
the last
one?
one was Sundog on that, and that was a crazy one too. With this guy,
What was
who
the
finds
one in
horror.
Night? The guy in the apartment. Oh fuck! I can't remember. There
Gray
was-
Matter? Is that the one you're talking about?
Maybe.
Where it was like a snowstorm, and the guy comes into the liquor store talking about his dad, that something's happening to his
So-
dad. and he
yeah,
gets
yeah,
him to
yeah.
Go back, and he was turning into some like goo, like grayish goo or something. so he
Really, I
eats
don't
cows
remember
and
how it
shit.
ended. That's the thing. I just
Oh, that was
remember.
fucking crazy.
I remember picturing that story for the apartment for some reason. Like,
Oh, and I really liked the Night Shift story. I Am the Doorway, and that was the guy whose eyes started popping up on his hand.
on the
and-
hand. That's like the cover.
Yeah, it's like the cover, and he's bandage up his hand, but there was like little eyes appearing on it.
And there was the other one related to the
That was a
stand.
good one.
The Captain.
Yeah, Night Surf. I think that's what
Night Surf. Yes.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And that was a cool one, just because
And
of that.
And they had a prequel and sequel to Salem's Lot on there. There was Jerusalem's Lot.
Yes.
and then
Jerusalem's Lot.
One for the Road was the one with
Yes, One for the
Yeah.
Road.
yeah, that was a
They had
good
two
one.
in one. They had two in the same.
Yeah,
book.
they end capped the story. It was like Jerusalem's Lot was the first one, and One for the Road is the last.
Wow,
story.
man, I must have read that like 14 years ago or something.
Yeah, that
Shit.
was the first book I got of Stephen King. I read when I was like 7 or something. I read it like every year since. Like I still have I have like 5 copies of that book in here. I just buy them when I see them. Like, yeah, I'm gonna get.
Well, you were talking about The Shining. We could talk about The Shining because it's a great movie,
Yeah,
but compared to the
Fantastic.
book, it's not as good and it's different.
yeah. It's hard to.
It
judge
doesn't
it.
portray the hauntedness that well.
No.
Like it doesn't really make you think that it's hauntings for some reason, even though they're just
Yeah, it's
Like,
yeah.
they
The
sort of
movie
make you
kinda-
think it's in his mind. I
Yeah,
don't
it
know.
kind of draws the line of whether it's a haunting or it's in his mind, and he's flipping out from the solitude, I guess.
Yeah,
But
It
that
seemed
aspect
like they
is
made
kind
it
of
more about the
interesting as well.
solitude, but they're obviously there because like the kid sees the blood.
yeah, the kid sees them too, so
I never understood the walrus giving a blowjob, dude. Like, what the fuck?
I love that.
So
scene. It's
confusing. When I
it's
saw
so
it, I'm like, what the
oddball.
fuck is going on here?
It's so oddball.
What
It comes out of
is-
nowhere. You're like, what the fuck? And the face, that weird fucking mask and shit. That's a weird mouth and shit. You're like, what the fuck is this? It's just so oddball, man. I love it, man.
That is crazy. But it's a great movie, but it's
It
just
is.
like,
But
I
yeah,
don't know, like, does it
it's
do
hard to
justice to the
compare the
book?
two.
Definitely not. Like,
no, yeah, Stephen King hated that movie for a long time.
well, yeah, he did.
because there was nothing.
But his
it-
movie was no good. His movie was not good, dude. It fucking-
No, I have that too on DVD.
It was like very to the book, but it was not good.
but it was just not a well-made movie.
Yeah, it was shit. Like that's one thing they left out, all the fucking animal.
Yeah. Well,
Action
anytime
and shit.
Stephen King actually makes the movie himself, it's usually not that good.
He's in like every fucking movie he's ever.
Yeah. Well, the cameos are cool. I remember him in the second Creep Show. Remember the one with the lady who runs over the hitchhiker?
I didn't see the second one.
Oh no! Oh
No.
my god! There's this classic fucking one where the lady kills a hitchhiker and then he's like starts haunting her while she's driving home, and he constantly says, "Thanks for the ride, lady. Thanks for the ride, lady." So that's stuck to my brain like since I was a kid. Which was so great. And you
I
never
love
read,
reading Stephen King. I like it. That's the thing. His movies.
never
I
read
never-
Skeleton Crew, right? They had the raft
Yeah.
in that.
The what?
The raft. You don't know
Yeah, I
that.
didn't read that one. No,
yeah,
no.
yeah, that because they do that in Creep Show too, and that was a good one.
Which one?
It's just like the short story too is done so well.
Creep Show was its own little comic, no? Or like
No, they based it. They were based. It was basically an homage to Tales from the Crypt, like the old Tales from the Crypt comics. Because
no, but Creep Show was before Tales from the Crypt.
the TV show, yeah, but the TV
No,
show's
the
based.
movie. I'm talking about the movie. Creep Show.
Yeah, Creep Show movie came out before the TV series, Tales from the Crypt.
But wasn't it like a what do they call it? Like a sort of like a graphic novel from Stephen King.
No, they made a
Before
comic
they made
book-
the movie.
No, they made a comic book based on the script. From the movie.
Okay.
Came out around the same time. But Tales from the Crypt was a comic book in the 30s.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which they both grew up to. That's why they did it as an homage to those old comics.
I didn't know that. I was just talking about I was thinking of the TV show. You know,
Yeah,
on
yeah. The
HBO.
TV shows, it's really adaptations of the stories that were in those
Okay.
comics. Yeah, like if you look in the credits, it'll say based on this story from Tales from the Crypt.
I didn't know that shit. I did not know
Yeah,
that.
Synthetic Rebellion says he has the comic. They actually reprinted them recently in hardcover for people to buy them. And there's like a exact copy of the old ones that came out in the 80s. I wanted to get it.
Though that was another good. That's another movie. That's a Stephen King movie, but it was actually a pretty good movie. Silver Bullet. It's
Silver Bullet was cool, yeah, with Corey
that
Haim.
was what's the comic? That's a graphic novel by Stephen King. I forgot the fucking name.
I have that.
I have it too.
Cycle of the Werewolf.
Cycle of the Werewolf. Yeah. That
Yeah,
was
it's kind of
pretty
it's like
fucking
a story, and like each page has like one picture, and then it's like the story, and then you turn it right.
Mhm.
There's another story, another picture in the story.
yeah.
And
yeah.
the artwork in that was gory as fuck, right? There was like one with the werewolf is like ripping someone's guts out, and their guts are like pouring out all onto the ground. Fucking great.
Yeah. No, that was like a late '80s movie. That was pretty good actually.
Mhm. Yeah, that was cool. With the priest, that fucking crazy priest. They shoot out his eye, and then they shoot the werewolf's eye, and then
the priest has a patch.
yeah, all of a sudden he has an eye patch on, and they're like, wait a minute, I think he's the werewolf.
See how religion has tricked us all to thinking they're good.
Yeah.
When they're just fucking werewolves.
Yeah, right. They're all just fucking werewolves, man. They're trying to eat us.
Oh man, no, I love fucking just 80s horror. Was
Yeah,
great.
80s horror was the best, man.
70s I think is the best, but
70s.
I love the 80s shit because it had I didn't like I was bitching about the comic aspect of Evil Dead 2, but I guess that's what made 80s movies a little funny.
Yeah,
Like,
the campiness is
so
great.
good
Dude.
because just
They
that
didn't take
little
it so serious.
stupidity.
Like I was talking about before, Night of the Creeps. Did you ever see that?
No, it's that one.
Oh, that was one they played on TV all the time too. And it was like these little black alien like worm things that would crawl in people's ears.
That was in the fucking Wu-Tang song.
Yeah,
Right.
it was in the Wu-Tang song. Yeah.
Oh shit. The Night of
And,
the Creeps.
Yeah. Exactly. I think it was
With a stash.
ODB, right? He's the one that says that. Yeah. Yeah, it was like during a prom and they go inside the boys' heads and shit. So the detective's like trying to protect the girls from their dates and shit. They come in to eat them. It's fucking great. But it's really campy and it's just a fun movie all in general. I think you'd like that one too. Just one on a day that you just want to get high and have fun with a movie, you'd probably enjoy watching that.
I haven't mentioned a movie you haven't seen.
Oh yeah, I've seen so many, dude. Fucking, especially once the internet came around, then I could just look at movies that I never even heard of and
There's
be like,
definitely ones I have that I haven't even mentioned. I just can't think of at the moment.
So
I'm trying to fucking think of, but
yeah, there's so many classics you haven't seen too.
all my DVDs and books are like fucking locked away in my
What did you
closet.
think of New Nightmares when Wes Craven did that? Did you
I
ever
didn't
watch
see
that?
it. I didn't.
Oh man,
I didn't bother.
that was a good one. It was like his way of trying to bring back Nightmare on Elm Street to what it was originally.
Those new Jasons were fucking horrible. Man. Like
Oh,
Jason
well,
X and fucking
Jason
Friday the
X.
13th part 9 or whatever it was. Which one was the fucking terrible one? Oh,
The remake?
no,
remake.
the one after 8. 9, I think it was. No.
Oh, was that Jason Goes to Hell?
Yes, horrible.
Yeah, it ended up being he was like a worm creature or something that was going into different bodies. I was like, what the fuck is this?
What?
Like,
That's
so weird.
so fucking horrible. And then
Might have been a
Freddy at
good
the
movie
end.
if they didn't make it a Friday the 13th movie and just
And then
made
the
it its own
Freddy
fucking thing.
shit at the end where he pulls him under.
yeah,
So
because they were gonna make Freddy
stupid.
sooner. And
Dude, that was the rumor since like 1985.
Freddy versus Jason was fun though. That was
The
a fun
first
movie.
Nightmare on Elm Street is good though. It's less
great.
fucking comical. Like
It was- the first one and the third one were like the only really good ones. Everything else was just kind of silly.
The second one was terrible with
The second one was really
out of the
bad.
stomach.
Yeah,
Ripped out of him like alien. Like that.
there was a
that's
good
terrible.
aspect in that movie where like the whole like his life was starting to turn kind of like a dream. There's like a part where the kitchen gets really hot and like shit starts melting. Like there's like a record melting and a bird. They have a bird in a cage and it explodes. and
Yes,
shit.
I remember that scene.
Yeah, that some of that movie is redeemable because of how silly it is.
It was
but
just
yeah,
so
but most of
weird,
it
and you're
was
like, "What
weird.
is this concept? Why he was
Yeah.
into dreams? Why is he coming out of this kid?
Yeah, that was really weird.
Like, why is he entering real life?"
Yeah, there was that scene where he's talking to his friend, and Freddy's arm pops out of his chest.
That's the
and
very
rips out
end of
him.
the-
Yeah, and then he rips out of him. That was weird.
Well, there was the scene where he comes out of him at the party, like they're having the pool party,
Uh-huh.
and then Freddy like kills everyone at the pool party, and he's just supposed to be in a dream, but he's not in a dream because he popped out of him at a party.
Mhm.
But then at the end, they're all back, so it was supposed to be a dream, I guess. But then
Grant,
his
is Grant
Hands
into
pops
horror
out of his
movies?
chest. I don't know.
Grant, are you into horror movies? You want to come talk to us about horror movies? Let me know. The link's actually in the Discord if you want to grab it and come in. Man, he might be working, so I don't know.
Is this chat like way behind?
I don't know about way behind. Yeah, or it might just be going slow. They're not talking as much. We've been going for a while.
You
Well, I've been going for a while.
scumbags! You're not talking. How dare you?
How dare you not talk? Well, at least I have a consistent amount of people watching. It's been at 20 watching for a long time. I got one thumb down. Damn you people.
Thumb down. Dude, I've like never look at that shit.
No.
ever.
Well,
Not
a
on
lot of,
live streams ever. Like everyone's
lot
like,
of
"Oh, you
people-
don't have enough likes." I'm like, "Who cares?"
yeah, I don't really care.
You think
But
people gonna watch my hangout like and
a
pass
lot
it
of us
around?
people that are connected to Devin get instant dislikes on streams for some reason. You know, the haters out there.
Of the haters.
Yeah, Amy gets like 8 or 9 fucking dislikes before it even starts and shit.
That's one person, whoever it is.
Yeah,
It's
you
one
know,
person with
I
stock
don't wanna- I'm
accounts.
not saying names, but you
No,
know,
no, I don't even know who, but it's
yeah.
someone with a stock.
Yeah, they just instantly dislike this. I think I had that one dislikes from when I started this.
Bizarre to even do that. Like, so imagine signing out all these accounts just
Yeah,
to,
oh god, that's
especially when it just starts off. Yeah.
there's no way I can even dislike anybody to be bothered to do that. You know, I'm so lazy. I'd be like, fuck that. That's way too much shit. I'd rather watch a movie or read something. Fuck that. You gotta sit here and keep switching accounts and having to type the password and shit to fucking to dislike something. Fuck that.
They save their passwords, so it just goes quicker. Nah, I don't know. It's just ridiculous. But yeah, I can't think of anything else right now for some reason. I'm like trying to think of the movies I own.
I can't believe you've never seen Phantasm or Hellraiser. Those are fucking such classics. I grew up to those.
It's probably because of the supernatural aspect to it. I
Yeah,
just
maybe.
didn't bother.
And those are movies they didn't really show much on TV either, so you wouldn't have caught
Yeah.
them on TV. Hellraiser.
I could have
TV
rented them
everything.
any fucking time.
Yeah.
Like I literally was in the fucking video store.
Well,
all
I
the
had the benefit that my dad was a huge horror fan, so you know, once a week it was like, let's go to the video store. You know,
There was a video
horror.
store 2 blocks from my fucking house when I grew up. I just walked there and fucking
Yeah, and that's when
spend
you,
an hour in there deciding what I'm gonna rent.
yeah, you look at all the covers. The covers were so cool back then too. They were all like painted and shit and looked fucking awesome.
That's like what this stream is bringing back for me. Like just thinking about looking
Mm-hmm.
at the cover of the horror movie. That's why I know so many that I haven't seen. Just
And then you'd have to-
a million times.
Pick up the VHS and turn it around and read the back to see what it's about and
Yeah.
look at the little screen caps and shit. Like,
Yep.
yeah, that was a lot of. Those are fun days, man. I really miss that.
Hells yeah, dude. You take a little peek in the porn section.
Yeah. Slowly walk by
For
the.
anyone who doesn't know what a video store is, it's
Yeah.
they videos, and then there was a section with a curtain. And
Yeah. When you're a little kid, you like fucking stick.
well, you couldn't when you were a kid, but yeah.
Oh, I used to do that shit when I was a kid.
No, I mean, no, when you were a
Nobody's
kid, you
looking.
couldn't rent them.
Oh no, yeah, you couldn't rent them, but you know, nobody's looking. You turn the curtain, you lift.
Oh
you
yeah, you fucking
you
little
lift
peek in the curtain, see what's going on in there.
lift your boobies and be like, ooh.
I did that shit all the time.
yeah, I did too. Especially since I'd spend like hours. Like you said, my video store was like maybe a block and a half away from me, and I used to go there and just hang out for like an hour or two looking at
I'd
shit.
walk, I'd look around the whole fucking store.
Those days are great too. It was like $1 a day.
108 and 217.
Mm-hmm.
If you got a new release, it's 217.
Oh, really? All the ones here were just $1. That's it. It was just
Even the
$1
new
a day.
releases, really?
Yeah, everything was $1 a day.
That's interesting.
I think later on, though, some of the older movies that I guess the ones that people wouldn't rent so much would go down to 50 cents a day.
Really, I know Blockbuster killed that shit, dude.
Oh yeah, when they started
Put
doing
those motherfuckers right out of business.
the month-long rentals and shit. Like, who wants a
3 days, 3 to 5 days. You're like, what?
Oh yeah, they went to that, and then later on, it was just like you can hold on to it for like a month and shit. I never understood the point of that because it's like if you're gonna rent the movie, why not just watch it that night and bring it back? Like I don't get it. Who wants to rent the movie for a month?
You
Fucking
get
buy the movie.
fined if
Man.
you didn't remember if you get fined if you didn't rewind the movie.
Oh yeah, remember those? Be kind.
Like it's just a cheap way to get fucking you to give them money.
Mhm.
It's like they couldn't pop it back in the machine and rewind it.
Yeah, especially at that point, they had rewinding machines already.
How did that cost them money?
Like, you remember? Did you ever have the old car that you like hit the button and you just put the VHS in it and it rewinds it for you?
Yeah. I
Yeah, I
remember.
had one of those. It was like a little red sports car.
I had a regular one. It was just like it looked like a tape player almost.
Oh yeah, I remember those. Like a silver one,
Yeah, something black.
silver or gray.
whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember having that too.
Ah.
Why did we had that and a VCR? That's what's weird.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah,
wow.
because you just doing it in your VCR would kill the headers in it, and it would like fucking not play as well. Like after a while, like every time you would rewind, it would like kill the quality of the player.
When I moved out a couple of years ago, 2 years ago or something, I finally threw out my VHS player, so I don't.
Yeah,
own it
shit.
anymore.
I haven't had a VHS.
Because it was just sitting in my
20s.
corner for like 7 years without being touched. 8
Oh,
years.
man.
It was just sitting there. So I was just like, finally. Let's just throw it
Totally
out.
obsolete. There's
But it's so stupid to throw it out because you could never. Because when you had shit that you recorded from TV or fucking home
Yeah,
movies, so
that would only be
Shoulda
good for shit. Because nowadays you can find anything online. But I mean,
yeah, but then not for the just for the reasons of like shit you recorded and that may not.
There are certain things that I remember having as a kid that I can't find, or sometimes I'll think of something that I'm like, oh, what was that movie I recorded from TV, and I could never find it, And it's like, damn, if I still had my VHS and my VHS player and tapes, I would probably just pop it in and watch it.
Yeah, I had definitely a bunch that I recorded from TV, just stupid TV shows and shit you would never even think to remember existed. And then if you saw them, like if you played it back now, you'd be like, holy shit, I remember this. Like, just think of like just commercials and shit probably.
I used to record cartoons like crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, those old Looney Tunes and shit. I had tons of Looney Tunes, like 8 hours of Looney Tunes on tapes and shit.
Oh, I had so many Simpsons tapes, dude. I had like fucking 10, 15 Simpsons
and
tapes.
then I was obsessed with music videos too, and I used to record every like metal band's music videos and shit, like rock bands and shit.
Oh wow, yeah. Those were the days. Can you even? Oh no, everything's on TV now, digital. You can record that shit and save it to your TV. Not to your TV, it just saves in your fucking provider box or whatever.
You could just find anything to stream online too. It's like,
yeah.
It's even kind of useless to get DVDs now, but I have stacks of them.
I don't understand why YouTube thinks they're gonna make money on like trying to put TV on YouTube.
Yeah, I don't know how that's gonna work.
Like, do they really think they're gonna get rid of TV and it's just gonna be everything on the internet? I don't buy it. Like, I don't think it's gonna happen.
It's kind of getting to that, but I think TV. I don't think they're gonna get rid of TV. I think a TV is just gonna be less. Like there'll be less channels. I know just whatever channels are putting out the best shows are gonna stay.
Yeah, there's still all these networks and shit.
Yeah, there's still too many. But a bunch of them are gonna
die out. Yeah, let's just kill our business of 170 years. Like NBC, fuck it. We'll just be
it'll be
NBC
a
online.
long time before that happens because you still have people like our generation still watching TV. So
yeah, they're fucking with it though. Like they're putting everything online, but it's just like, but you got to pay for it. It's like, why? I have a TV. Like, I'm already paying for cable. I guess. But that's the thing. Like YouTube's not gonna have everything.
Yeah, of course
and
not.
Hulu has some shit, and then this one has some shit. No, that's why you have cable, because it's all there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like until you put it all on every fucking place.
That's probably what's going to happen.
Work out.
They're going to have something like cable TV, but on the internet. Then they basically have everything, but you're going to have to pay a set fee, to get this.
Yeah, because if one fucking website has certain things and the other website has other things, like it's never going to work out.
Mm-mm.
No one's gonna commit to that shit because then they gotta pay everyone just to get everything instead of paying one company a certain fee to get everything. Like it's very fucking strange.
I always hated cable though.
I didn't have it till I was in high school.
Yeah, me neither. Actually, yeah, I didn't have cable till
I always wanted the motherfucking shit when I was younger. I was like, everyone's.
Yeah, when I was a kid, everybody would always talk about stuff that was on, like like Fraggle Rock or something, like shit that was on Nickelodeon. And I was like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, dude. Like, I don't have cable.
Nickelodeon, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, what's Nickelodeon? What is that? Like, oh yeah, it's a cable channel. I was like, oh. Or they would watch stuff on HBO, like, oh, they show titties on HBO. I was like, I don't know what HBO is. I don't have that.
I remember when I was young, dude, my mother had it was just a switch, and we had HBO and just regular TV.
Oh,
so,
shit.
like, it was its
all
own
you had was HBO besides regular TV.
Yeah, like it was its own fucking thing. Like it wasn't like part of like cable. I mean, it was part of cable eventually, but back then it was just its own. You switched it over and you had HBO.
Oh shit! Yeah, we didn't have that. We were too poor for any.
That was like early '80s, like around like when Delirious was on HBO. Eddie Murphy Delirious.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
That was like an HBO thing, and it was
on. I had to rent that to see it the first time.
So that's like, I had it at that point in time, but we didn't have it for long. Like, because I only lived there a couple more years, and then we moved, and that was it. We didn't have cable for like 7-8 years after that.
Yeah, I didn't have cable till I was, I think, maybe 13.
I think I was 16
or 14.
I think I was in like a junior in high school or some shit.
And then at that point, it was all the people were getting all those like hacked boxes for cable and shit, where you get all the channels and shit. Yeah, that's how I got cable. And I still didn't pay for cable. I got
But
it.
that's around the time the internet
hacked box.
started picking
Yeah.
up.
I think that's how my brother got it. I think he found a website where somebody was selling them, and he just bought one off the internet.
Like, yeah, when I was in high school, it was when the internet
Sent the dude a check, which back that was in the early days, and you didn't put your credit card into the internet and shit. He sent the dude a check and shit. And we were like, well, I hope he just doesn't keep your money, but we'll see. No, but he delivered. We had like 99 channels, including the porn channels. We had all those too.
Spice.
Yeah, Spice. Weird. Spice was the shit.
Way better than Playboy.
Crazy.
Playboy was weak.
Yeah, Playboy was weak. It just had chicks like dancing around and shit.
Yeah, Playboy was weak.
Spice had the hardcore stuff.
Yeah. Although they didn't do full penetration.
Yeah, it was kind of like Skinamax type movies and shit. Like,
no, Spice was real, but they just cut out the penetration.
Did they? I don't remember that. Would they just zoomed
Yeah,
up on the faces or something and not show the actual?
I only know because my friend had a hot box and he had that shit, and I was like, "What the fuck? Like, that's crazy." Like, your parents just have this shit in the living room. You guys can access it. You're crazy.
That's what my house was like too.
Like, how does that work out?
It's like my parents go to work and it's like, all right, put on channel 60, whatever it's on.
68, I think it was 68,
something like that. Like, all right, now I can watch this. My parents are at work.
Fuck, do we remember the channel number from 20 years ago?
It was 60 something. It was great.
Crazy. Well, you've been on a while, huh?
Yeah. How long have I been on? I probably should get off and make dinner because I'm pretty hungry.
Yeah, I know.
But it's cool talking about horror, man.
Definitely.
I love horror.
About all this shit.
Yeah, it's been about 2 hours. Yeah, I'll probably end this. I was gonna see if Grant wanted to come on, but I see he's in the chat. He hasn't responded if he wants to come on.
I feel like the chat hasn't moved in like 10 minutes.
Let me at him. Don't at me, bro.
Don't at me, son.
Yeah, I fucking laugh every time I see some chick say "Don't at me." Like, what the fuck?
I always do it sarcastically.
Yeah, no, it always cracks me up when you do it.
You're like, "Don't at me, motherfuckers."
Oh, he can't. He said he can't. You bastard. Are you even into horror movies, Grant? I don't even know if you are. I kind of feel like if you're, I kind of feel like, yeah. So I was gonna say, I kind of feel like if you're a metalhead, you like.
Well, no, we talked about Halloween. Me and Grant talked about Halloween with Drew. I remember we had a whole.
Like, I never met anybody who was into metal that wasn't into horror as well.
They sort of go hand in hand for some reason, for unknown reasons.
Yeah, for unknown reasons. Yeah, I guess.
Like there's no like I don't really know metal songs talking about slasher films and shit.
Did you watch The Gate?
Oh no, I know that one though. I know.
Yeah.
I could picture
that was another one
where
where his neighbor was a metalhead kid and he fucking had a record, and that's how it all starts because he had like a hole in his backyard. So he plays a record backwards, and it was like a demonic incantation, and it turns the hole into like a gate to hell and shit.
Nice.
So when
that's the thing about The Exorcist. Like, I don't know. It's like you watch it now, and you're just like, okay, there's no devil, so okay.
It's like, peeking a pea soup at people. It's not that scary. I still think that scene where she runs down the fucking stairs like backwards and shit,
which is in the original.
Like, yeah, it's not in the original, but I remember when they released it, I went to the theater to watch it with the deleted scenes put back in it, and that scene was like, oh, that was good. That brought it back for me. I was like, all right, now I see that. And her saying, your mother sucks cocks in hell, instead of your mother smells socks in hell, like in the original. Like, what?
No, it doesn't say that in the original.
Does it? I thought in the original it said your mother smells socks in hell. I could have
sworn it says sucks cock in hell. Definitely.
I don't know.
Come on,
that might be one of those things.
Dude, she stabs herself in the fucking front of the crucifix in the original. They definitely say that shit. I never heard suck socks. That's so funny.
That smells socks, I swear to God.
You probably saw that on TV.
Yeah, maybe that was the
dubbed on TV.
I did watch that on TV mostly when I was a kid, than watching the original like VHS.
Oh, that's why. That's so funny. No
yeah,
wonder.
I did see that on TV more.
That's like if you watch Casino. Did you ever watch Casino on TV? It's terrible.
No, I don't think I've ever seen it on TV, but it's
There's the part where they're talking to each other and they're covering their mouths so the feds don't see what they're saying.
Yeah.
And he's like, I fouled up, Frankie. I fouled up real good this time instead of
fouled
fucked up. It's so bad. It's so bad.
I remember watching Coming to America for the first time on TV. And there's the part where Samuel Jackson is holding up the McDowell's and shit with his shotgun. And Eddie Murphy is like comes in to tell him to stop. And in the movie, he says, "Man, fuck you." But in the TV, he said, "Man, forget you." I was like, "Forget you? What?"
The dubs are so bad.
Me and my brother used to say that to each other all the time. Crack up.
Get you, man.
Get you.
That's why I fouled up real good is like the worst ever because like no one ever says that. I fouled up.
Do they do that anymore, or do they just bleep it out now, or do they still like?
No, they dub. They got it done. The casino one I've seen a million times on cable, and I know they. I haven't seen it in years, but on cable, but I know they
There's
used to.
Something so funny about those,
like on USA or whatever fucking channel they would play it on. Like a channel can't commit to cursing, fucking pussies.
Yeah,
like no, we gotta censor our movies.
It's kind of funny how it's changed throughout the decades, right? Like when we were younger, they didn't say bitch or ass on TV, and then like in the 90s, they started saying it. Yeah, and then little by little, they'll start saying bitch, and then they started saying ass.
What's it called? They were saying ass, and what's it like on Married with Children?
Yeah, Married with Children would say that.
They would say little things here and there.
But it's so funny how that things that are considered bad words on TV, like little by little.
Do you remember there's an episode of Seinfeld where George calls Jerry a jerk off? That was shocking.
I don't remember him calling him a jerk off.
He just goes jerk off. I swear my fucking life. It's one from the first season.
I probably have seen it. I just don't remember it because it probably wasn't something.
It was just so shocking to me because I'm like, they never say anything.
That's the one you could think of that like they probably never used to say, and then all of a sudden,
yeah, they would never say that shit on TV. I don't even think they say it now.
It was like amazing in the time period where Gone with the Wind came out, and she said, "Frankly, I don't give a damn," or whatever he says, and that was like, yeah, in those days that was shocking. It was like, oh my god, someone said "damn" in a movie. Like, whoa.
She's wearing a skirt above her knee.
Now I'm like fucking. I look at people weird if they say, "Oh, you can't say damn." I'm like, well, what are you talking about? Like, there's nothing wrong with that word. What?
Well, they still don't curse on TV, really.
No, they won't say fuck, but I've heard them say dick on TV on like regular broadcast television, and bitch and ass.
Bitch and ass, yeah.
Yeah, I've even heard them say dick. Yeah, I've heard not much, no, but I've heard it before.
Yeah,
but they won't say. They still won't say fuck for sure.
They still have the. Is that still like in the FCC shit? The 7 words? Is it no?
Yeah, like cunt is one of those. Fuck.
I thought it was shit, fuck, sex. No, whatever the fuck.
Sex. Shit.
Can't be sex.
Shit, piss, fuck, cunt, cock, motherfucker. And I don't know what the other two are. But I guess you don't really need a motherfucker in there if you can't say fuck. This makes you the same thing.
Yeah, it's like, hey, it's one word, man. It's one word. It's its own word, I guess. That's where they're going there.
Grant's saying they say shit on late shows past 10 p.m.
Shit, really?
Yeah, shit's a crazy one. Shithead.
Shithead.
Fucking shithead.
Sons of Anarchy, but that's on fucking...
Yeah, Sons of Anarchy don't count. Well,
it's on FX. They
curse on FX. There's layers to that, right? There's like the broadcast, and then there's regular cable, and then you have the premium cable that you pay for the extra channels. Those say whatever.
FX curses, right?
Yeah, I would think so. At least cable curses.
Not all of them, though. Like not all cable channels.
Like AMC don't say fuck either, but they'll say words that regular TV won't say.
Okay, yeah, all right. Sons of Anarchy was fucking awesome.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I didn't watch it.
Fucking watch it. Start it now. Like it's fucking great.
It's hard for me to get into shows that aren't like supernatural or have some sort of fantasy aspect to it.
No, come on.
I am like that. Yeah, it's hard for me to get into it.
You should get into it, man. They got your boys, the Mayans.
Those are my boys. I got nothing.
They're the Mexican motorcycle gang. The Mayans, they're fucking awesome.
The burritos.
It's a great show, bro. I'll definitely get into it. Definitely watch it.
Yeah, my friends all tell me, you gotta watch this.
I mean, it's done already. It's already a couple of years finished, but
Even
still
Breaking
great show.
Bad, I haven't watched that either, and I can't really get interested in it.
Mm.
Nah, I've seen a few episodes. I just
Yeah, definitely watch that. I mean, I don't hold it as high as everybody else on the planet, but it's still really good. Like Dexter was good, but it was like the
Dexter, I
worst
saw a
ending.
few episodes of. I didn't get too into it either, but I've seen a few.
Brown Mafia. What was that? The night? What was that? What was that name? Grant? The fucking Niners? What was their fucking name? The thugs from Oakland.
I miss anthology shows though. I wish they would do a good one of those again, like Tales from the Dark Side or something.
What's it called? Sucks.
It was supposed to come back. They were supposed to do a reboot it, but I guess the pilot wasn't good enough.
American Horror Story stinks now.
Ugh, yeah.
Went to hell.
I couldn't even finish that season, the one we were talking about, and
I finished it. It wasn't that great.
No, it wasn't. Like the first 2 episodes cracked me up, and I was gonna keep watching it, and then after like 2 more episodes, I just lost interest.
Yeah, the One-Niners. That's who they were. They were the gangsters from Oakland. The One-Niners.
The Raiders. They were the Raiders fans.
That's what it was like, the Raiders. But they weren't. No, that's a good show, man.
Yeah, really maybe I'll probably end up watching it eventually.
But. Good acting, good actors, real good story. Straight through. It wasn't an anthology or nothing like that.
Do you remember a show when we were kids called V? You remember that?
Yeah, hells yeah.
Yeah, I was a big fan of that.
They remade that too.
They brought that back in like 2006 or something.
Yeah,
that's good. Yeah, it wasn't bad either, but I don't think I think it could have been better, but I think it got canceled before it actually.
Alien Nation.
Alien Nation. Wow. They had their genitals in their armpits or something.
The men had the babies.
Yeah, the men had the babies, and they would have sex in their armpits or somehow. I don't know. They never showed how they did it. They just explained that they had their genitals in their armpits. And they would like rub each other's heads, like instead of making out or something, right? Like him and his wife would like rub each other's heads, the little brown spots in their head.
Grant, they do that on every fucking American Horror Story after like season 2. They just fucking rush through everything and just do 1,000 things. Just all these twists for no reason.
Yeah,
not even twists. They're just like, oh, this person's dead for no reason. Like,
then when you get to the episode before the last episode and that one ends, you're like, how are they going to tie this up all in one episode? That doesn't make any sense. But they do, and it's rushed, and you're like, huh? That's it.
Yeah, it's weak. That show fucking.
They could have done so much better with that show. I don't know what they.
I don't know, man. I thought it was just the first 2 were good, and then it just all went shit. I thought.
But I miss anthology shows that aren't a whole season of story. You know, like just one episode of story and go on to the next story.
Yeah.
Like I miss that. They need to bring. They need to do that.
Tales from the Dark Side was awesome for sure.
It's been like a good fucking like decade and a half since there's been anything like that they've done that with.
What
they are trying to bring back Tales from the Crypt again, and they were trying to bring back Tales from the Dark Side, but the pilot failed. So I don't know if it'll be any good.
I don't even remember the episodes that well. I just remember I loved it. Do you remember this? I think there was a Fox show about a werewolf. I think it was. I don't remember what it was called.
About a werewolf.
Yeah, dude. It was on like around the time of Married with Children, and it would be on either before or after it. I don't remember the fucking name.
Werewolf show.
Fox.
In the 90s?
I guess late 80s to early 90s.
That automatically came up with it. Oh, Big Wolf on Campus. Was that it?
No. What? Not a movie. I don't know what that is, but it was a TV show. No, it was like a drama. It wasn't like, it was like a.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely in it.
It was like this dude. He was a werewolf.
It might have just been called.
It was a pretty good show. I remember.
There's a movie called The Werewolf, a TV show. I mean, from 1988.
It's possible, yeah.
Yeah, Fox's broadcast lineup during its inaugural season, 1987 and 1988. Werewolf.
Yep.
I don't remember this. I guess I never
liked that show. It was good. From what I remember, it was good.
I have to look that up on YouTube at some point, see if they have some episodes on there.
Yes, I mentioned a horror type thing you didn't know.
Yeah, you finally caught me on one.
Did it. Did it.
I did it. You win.
I win. Yes, I win the internet. I win the Google Hangout.
You have defeated Elf. All right, yeah, I think I'm gonna end this and get some food because I'm hungry.
All right, Elf.
But it was fun, man. Thanks for coming on and talking.
Definitely.
Well,
All
maybe
right.
maybe I'll do this again sometime. We'll get back into more horror stuff.
I gotta start watching some movies.
Yeah, catch up,
I
man.
said everything I know, probably. So, or I'll look into the ones that I forgot about. All right, man.
All right, man. Thanks for coming. See you, man.
Thank you.
Thanks everybody in the chat for coming. Bye bye.
Bye, everyone.